Every story has a beginning, but some tales are woven from threads of falsehood and illusion. The saga of Pandora, a planet etched in power and chaos, is one such story. It does not truly begin with the discovery of mystical prisons, the vaults brimming with both horror and untold treasures. It begins with ancient powers, with a war that exhausted all notions of surrender, and with the very architect of Pandora herself, an architect of an illusion. The story of Borderlands begins with a woman named Nereid. Her origins and appearance remain unknown, yet it is known that she was a siren, and a powerful one at that. The sirens themselves are a source of great mystery, so much so that not even Nereid knew of their true nature. What is understood is that there can only be 6 sirens at any given time, no more and no less. When a siren dies, her abilities, or for some, her curses, are inherited by another woman of the siren's choosing. If this choice is left undecided, the abilities are distributed to another woman, willingly or otherwise. While this selection might appear random, it is contained within the confines of an unforeseen force, one that has presumably kept the sirens connected since their inception. Nereid describes this force, this will of the universe, as an entwinement, forever braiding the lives of sirens together. This natural connection leads to the formation of what Nereid calls the Sisterhood, a collective of most, if not all, the sirens of her time, functioning much like a family. As sirens, the Sisterhood lives under the constant threat of what others might do to them. They are always hunted, pursued out of fear, jealousy, or misguided greed. A life of hiding and running from those who mean them harm becomes their way of life. It is, therefore, surprising when a civilization known as the Eridians contacts Nereid and asks for her help. Upon contact, the Sisterhood does not hesitate to attack the Eridians. Instinct tells them that outsiders are incapable of understanding them on a deeper level, that they can only ever be seen as threats or commodities. But as they prepare to strike, Nereid intervenes. She recognizes a familiar desperation in the Eridian plea for help. Despite her sister's reservations, she cannot ignore the resonance of their call, knowing all too well the feeling of being overlooked until a moment of dire need. With a heavy heart, she makes the decision to entertain their request, understanding that those desperate enough to seek her aid must be truly lost. After joining the Eridians, Nereid comes to learn both a great deal and, paradoxically, very little about their origins. She discovers that when they arrived in this galaxy, they landed on a planet they would dub Necrotafio. Translated from Eridian, it means first landing. This name alludes to a history before their arrival, yet the details of where they came from and why they left remain unclear. Alongside their history, she learns of their incredibly advanced technology, so advanced that it is borderline magical, even to a siren. This technology includes their powerful energy-based weaponry, their automated protective guardians, and above all, the vaults. The origin and purpose behind most of the vaults are also unclear. The little that is known is that while some are meant to keep people out, others are designed to keep something inside. These vaults contain powerful artifacts that can alter the fabric of reality and foresee the future, as well as monsters like the Rampager, Graveward, Gythian, and the most powerful of them all, the Destroyer. While traveling with the Eridians, Nereid notes that they never speak of a time before the Destroyer, as if it were simply a piece of the fabric of the universe, a part of the natural order of things. However, they fully intend to change that. Nereid suspects that to do this, they sought out the Destroyer to learn as much as they could. What they learn is that it is an unstoppable force, a gluttonous beast that never ceases to hunger. With no idea how to stop something so powerful, the Eridians go searching for other solutions, possibly other beings that could rival its strength. This is when they must have learned about Nereid and her extraordinarily powerful ability to leech power from others to make herself stronger. With her assistance, the Eridians finally have hope that their new plan will work, to build a planet-sized prison to trap the Destroyer once and for all. This planet would eventually become known as Pandora. The construction of Pandora is a project of unimaginably large scope, far more ambitious than any other task the Eridians have ever attempted. It transcends generations, taking multiple centuries to complete. A major reason for this lengthy process is the materials required for its construction, most notably the upper mantle, which consists of solid iridium, a versatile and incredibly valuable resource that serves as the primary method of containment. This, however, poses a risk. If anyone were to discover the abundance of iridium on Pandora, it might attract the wrong kind of attention. When Pandora is finally complete, it is seen as the most incredible thing of its kind, an inescapable, planet-sized prison. All that remains is to lure the destroyer to it, but for that, it will take great sacrifice. The destroyer is not only unmatched in strength, but also a formidably intelligent being. As it consumes civilizations, it gains their experiences and intellect. This makes it necessary for the eridians to lure it in with bait, so enticing the destroyer could not possibly resist. It soon becomes clear that this bait will have to be themselves. Hundreds of millions, or perhaps billions, of some of the most advanced minds in the universe are all sacrificed in the pursuit of peace. With this plan, however, come other complications. The first of these are those eridians who rebel against the rest, attempting to sabotage Pandora to appease the destroyer in hopes that it will spare their lives. For them, a great beast named the Warrior is constructed. Its purpose is that of a war machine. After successfully defeating the resisting eridians, the Warrior is placed within the confines of a vault, where it will remain until it can one day be given another command. Another issue that warrants consideration is the fact that once the eridians are gone, there will be no one left to, so to speak, throw away the key. Due to this, they instead opt to disguise the prison's key as none other than an inconspicuous moon, something so unremarkable that not even the potential residents of Pandora would think twice about it. Inside this moon, a powerful artifact that can foresee the future is placed inside a vault, protected by both guardians and another being of Eridian creation known as the Sentinel. Lastly, all prisoners must be fed, even the destroyer. For this, they place a false vault on the planet's surface that calls out to nearby souls every 200 years. This keeps it at least reasonably well fed, as there is nothing more dangerous than a hungry prisoner. With their many loose ends now tied, the only thing that remains is to lay the trap. As planned, the destroyer approaches Pandora, unable to resist the bait. At that point, it is finally time for Nereid to fulfill her terrible purpose. She siphons the life and power of the billion or so remaining eridians, using their energy to power a device on Necrotafio that would later become known as the Machine. This act finally, after all this time, imprisons the destroyer. While the plan to imprison the destroyer is successful, Nereid is absolutely devastated. She knows she has achieved a great victory, not only for the eridians but also for countless lives that will be saved now that the destroyer is gone. But this does not put an end to her grief. What is victory if it is at the cost of those whom she now thinks of as friends? For the time being, Nereid travels across the galaxy, assessing the fallout of the Eridian disappearance. As she explores, she becomes curious about the guardians the Eridians left behind. These, as Nereid calls them, half-living or quasi-beings, are both fascinating and uncanny to her. They are fascinating in the sense that they hold great purpose, that being to guard the vaults and other key Eridian locations, though uncanny in the sense that they are so close to sentience, yet are not granted full autonomy. They do not seem to mind it, as if they have some other purpose that is beyond her comprehension. This curiosity naturally births a question: what will happen to the Guardians when the fight is over? When all of the vaults have been pillaged, will they stand a vigil, or will they find some other, greater purpose? And if so, what is stopping them from doing that now? As time passes, Nereid becomes increasingly disillusioned with her own life, fearing what may happen if her powers were to fall into the wrong hands. This, in turn, leads to a decline in health that further compounds her already insurmountable fears. Her sisters know of these fears as well as her declining health and work to find a way to keep her powers from passing on. What they find is a possible solution to her problem. To keep her siren power from being inherited, she would have to lock herself inside a vault. Nereid knows that there is no certainty that this will work. However, the pros far outweigh the cons, for she knows that if the universe has no leech, it will be ultimately safer. Before she attempts this, she first travels the galaxy, using her siren abilities to imprint key memories of hers onto eridian glyphs. This allows her to share her side of the story, spread knowledge of the eridians, and in the end, give one final warning. Before she makes her way into a vault on Necrotafio, she warns to never find the seventh. Whether this is a warning to avoid looking for her is unclear, as it could just as easily be a warning to avoid a much bigger threat, possibly one that is even more powerful than herself, an elusive seventh siren that has the possibility to change everything known so far. With her story spread among the stars, Nereid makes her way to Necrotafio, the location where she forever changed the universe. She opens a vault and travels inside, imprisoning herself and her power for what she hopes is forever. Millennia pass, and humanity, after developing faster-than-light travel, manages to colonize a half-dozen galaxies known as the Six Galaxies. They are ruled by a central government as well as a few dozen megacorporations that specialize in manufacturing and providing an untold number of goods and services. But as humanity grows and the universe seems to get bigger, so does the business of warfare. As decades pass, most of these corporations fight tooth and nail for their own slice in that ever-growing market. This chaos ultimately ends in the collapse of the central government. The fall of the central government subsequently creates a vacuum of power that many of the corporations desperately attempt to fill. To foster peace, a 30-year accord is agreed upon by all the major corporations, though merely 4 months later, this agreement shatters under the weight of corporate greed. This is what sparks the legendary corporate wars. As the corporate wars rage on for nearly a decade, many of the now unknown companies are consolidated into those that stand today. These include Atlas, Torg, Tedier, Vladov, Maliwan, and Hyperion. There are others, such as Jacobs and SS Munitions, that also survive, though this is largely due to the clever ways in which they are able to avoid conflict altogether. With a reduced number of corporations grasping for power, the Six Galaxies are able to find some semblance of peace. Decades later, the once powerful Atlas Corporation is falling behind in the corporate arms race, becoming desperate for any kind of advantage. Atlas begins searching for increasingly far-fetched opportunities that might get them back on their feet. One such attempt has Atlas hiring explorers from across the Six Galaxies to search for alien ruins and technology. One of these explorers is a man named Typhon de Leon. He is born to a family of turd farmers on the now sparsely populated borderland planet of Pandora. Despite his circumstances, he is a natural-born adventurer, exploring ancient ruins and searching for artifacts for as long as he can remember. However, at the age of 16, his parents pass away, and with their passing, he finds that the reasons to stay on Pandora are far outweighed by his desire to leave. So he does, sneaking aboard a merchant ship bound for the planet Promethea, the home of Atlas. When Typhon arrives on Promethea, it is but a husk of its former self due to the steady downfall of Atlas. What he thought would be a thriving, opportunity-filled playground turns out to be, in his words, a tinderbox of violence and greed. This is only made worse by his financial situation. He never had much on Pandora, but on Promethea he somehow has even less. But even with nothing to his name, Typhon still has his talent for storytelling, which he uses to keep himself alive, trading stories for things such as food, water, and shelter. It is at this point that Typhon meets a man named Aslan de Mesa, a treasure hunter like him, though he finds Aslan to be both lazy and undetermined. But it is still nice to have a partner. Shortly afterward, both Typhon and Aslan are hired by Atlas to search Promethea for Eridian ruins. At this point, the Eridians are rumored to have existed, yet no hard evidence has been found linking them to any specific ancient ruins. But Typhon is determined to prove himself as the greatest treasure hunter who had ever lived, so he and Aslan set out to search for any and every lead they can find. As time passes, Typhon and Aslan find no evidence of Eridian ruins on Promethea. Aslan is ready to give up, but Typhon has a feeling that they are close. One day, when they are wandering through the Cimmerian quarry, Typhon falls through some brittle rock into a deep cavern. Aslan, being his lazy self, refuses to help, instead stealing Typhon's equipment and running away. Typhon then gets up and decides to find another way out. That is when he finds it, the first great discovery of his lifetime, a vault with a fully intact key sitting right at its entrance. Now some may see this as pure luck, but as Typhon sees it, sometimes luck is simply staying in the game longer than the other guys. Not many people are willing to spend years of their lives in search of what most believe are fairy tales, but he is, and he is about to reap the rewards of it. After finding the vault, Typhon decides to resist the urge to open it for himself and instead fulfill his contract to Atlas. He brings them the key, and for it, he is paid handsomely in both cash and attention. From now on, whenever anyone wants help searching for something, they come to the greatest treasure hunter in the 6 galaxies and the first of a new breed of explorer, vault hunters. Atlas, of course, does not hesitate to open the vault, where they find an abundance of eridian weapons and technology. Immediately, they task their researchers and scientists with reverse engineering the technology so they can apply it to their own weapons and equipment. This results in advanced technology far beyond that of any other corporation. So begins a second wind for the Atlas Corporation, going from near bankruptcy to the pinnacle of innovation almost instantaneously, finally living up to their name and becoming titans of industry once more. While at the top of their game, Atlas decides to invest heavily in themselves to keep the company in their current state of power for as long as possible. For this, they hire Typhon, as well as many other explorers, including a woman named Leda Calypso, to continue searching for more vaults. This is primarily done on Pandora, though in the next few years, they opt to leave Pandora as it is uniquely dangerous. On the business side, Atlas quadruples their standing army and finances the Crimson Lance and their Crimson Assassin counterparts, both of which are major reasons for their subsequent dominance. This, however, starts an arms race unlike anything anyone has ever seen, with most megacorporations scrambling to catch up to or simply survive Atlas's rise to power. Chief among these are Jacobs, Dahl, and of course Hyperion. The Jacobs Corporation is founded over 300 years before Atlas opens the first vault. It begins after the Jacobs battleship, known as the Family Jewel, crash lands on a moon of Eden, known as Eden 6. While this is tragic at the time, Singleton Talbot Jacobs turns their family's misfortune into a thriving business. This comes after the discovery of the immeasurably high-quality wood within the trees on Eden 6, which Talbot uses to manufacture weapons under the name Jacobs. Unlike many other companies, Jacobs refrains from resorting to unconventional business practices or flashy gimmicks to sell their products, instead attempting to focus solely on their craftsmanship in hopes that it will allow them to stand the test of time. However, after Talbot passes, the company is inherited by his son, Wharton, who is not nearly as idealistic as his father. Under his leadership, the company begins to broaden its horizons, expanding to places such as Gehenna. It is there, on a planet far from civilization, that the company conducts experiments on an element called the core, which has a multitude of harmful biological applications. The most dangerous of which is something called Project Ruiner, an extremely dangerous and powerful monster developed with the use of the core. Where at first they see promise with the Ruiner, it is quickly becoming clear that their ambitions are far exceeding what they are capable of controlling. Soon enough, they decide to give up on the planet entirely, glassing the surface of it without the slightest regard for the planet's residents. But just because the company moves on, it would not be the end for the citizens of Gehenna, as what Jacobs did on the planet would have unforeseen consequences generations later. After the rapid expansion of Jacobs, it becomes clear that the company functions best when held to its core values, a realization likely kindled by Wharton's brother, Maddox, after he inherits the company. Those values are solidified by his nephew and Wharton's son, Montgomery Jacobs. Montgomery is the one to end a good portion of the company's unsavory business practices, and though he is not perfect, attempts to keep the company out of trouble and conflict. It is at that point that Montgomery stumbles upon the biggest discovery of the Jacobs family, a vault hidden right on Eden 6. Montgomery decides to hide the vault, as even with his limited knowledge, he can perceive its importance. This proves correct after Atlas opens their vault and sparks nothing short of absolute chaos, chaos that he will do anything to avoid. Over a decade after Atlas finds the first vault, the Dahl Corporation begins secretly searching for a vault of their very own. Either coincidentally or being unknowingly called there by the Destroyer's false vault, the planet they go searching on is none other than Pandora. Upon landing on Pandora, Dahl attempts to do two things: mine and explore. The mining ends up becoming fairly lucrative, as they discover iridium just below the planet's crust. However, they are unaware of the true extent of their discovery. Despite this, hundreds of mines and quarries are built across the planet's surface, the crown jewel of which is Sanctuary, a mining ship that Dahl holds in high regard. Around the same time, Dahl mining operations on Elpis, Pandora's moon, lead to a disastrous event known as the Krakening. As a result, a legion of Dahl soldiers led by a woman named Colonel Zarpedin obtains access to hidden Eridian ruins underneath the moon's surface. Zarpedin explores these ruins, where an Eridian guardian known as the Watcher takes her and her legion into the vault of the Sentinel and shows them the distant future. In this future, it becomes clear that they must finish what the Eridians could not and throw away the key once and for all. While mining for resources, Dahl does anything they can to get bodies on Pandora. This results in the Echo promotional campaign, which has Dahl handing out Echo devices to anyone who is willing to accept them. As an added benefit, this gets people to use their Echo communications network, also known as the EchoNet. Unfortunately, soon afterward, Pandora becomes nothing short of a hellscape. Unknown to Dahl, they arrive on the planet during one of its 7-year winters. Now that winter is over, the majority of the fauna on the planet are leaving hibernation, which leads to a planet-wide panic. In the midst of this panic, a group of scientists contracted by Dahl begins searching for a vault on Pandora. One of these scientists is an archaeologist named Patricia Tannies. Tannies comes to Pandora a skeptic, assuming the stories of the vault are just that, stories. But as she continues to do research despite her associates' brutal deaths, she not only comes to believe in the vault but discovers proof of its existence by finding fragments of the vault's key. She also learns of the 200-year cycle the vault is tied to, one that is quickly approaching. At this time, Dahl has called for all employees to leave Pandora. However, with dwindling resources, many are simply left to fend for themselves, becoming those who make up the good majority of bandits and psychos on Pandora. However, there are exceptions, such as Dahl's highly regarded 191st Infantry Brigade, commanded by Colonel Hector. Before arriving on Pandora, Colonel Hector and his brigade are some of the most decorated soldiers in Dahl's military. Due to their elite status, Dahl promises Hector that his team will receive Paradise deployment, which would have them far from their usual combat theater. However, instead of Paradise, Colonel Hector and his brigade find themselves in a notoriously dangerous mine underneath Mount Scarab. Months later, on the day that Dahl abandons Pandora, they trap Colonel Hector and the 191st Brigade in the mine, stranding them for years to come. After discovering Dahl's secret mission to search for a vault on Pandora, Atlas resumes their quest once more. They deploy the Crimson Lance to finish off what is left of Dahl's forces. Given no option, Dahl cements its decision to abandon the planet altogether. Now this truly unruly planet is Atlas's to tame once more. Meanwhile, in a remote corner of the galaxy, a Dahl research team led by Aliner and Vincent Olmsted lands on the planet of Zylurgos. There, they encounter the massive carcass of Githian, a mysteriously deceased vault monster. While attempting to excavate Githian's body, they stumble upon its still beating heart. Vincent is then inadvertently absorbed by the heart, where his soul is trapped within a crystalline structure. Overwhelmed by grief, Aliner forges a ring from the crystal, discovering it contains her husband's soul. Using the ring's power, she binds it to others to be with her husband once again. Together, Elinor and Vincent's vessel form a cult called the Bonded, who become obsessed with the power of Gythian's heart. With nearly complete control over Pandora, Atlas's esteemed General Nox appoints a siren named Commandant Steele to oversee Atlas operations on Pandora. During this time, Atlas hires bandits to overrun the town of Haven. This forces its residents to abandon the location, moving to the subsequent town of New Haven, which then dubs its predecessor Old Haven. Afterwards, Atlas double-crosses and kills the hired bandits to make room for a cutting-edge facility constructed underneath Old Haven, known as the Gordes Project. This project is developed to find an elusive vault that Atlas has become aware of, known as the Vault of the Traveler. During this eventful period, considered by most to be a battle between Dahl and Atlas, the Hyperion Corporation stays hidden in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. This moment is decided not by a board of Hyperion executives, but instead by a single man who is a programmer. Many things about Jack's early life are unknown, likely due to the fact that anyone who knew Jack at that time is most likely dead. It is known that he was born on the planet Tantalus, where at a young age his father passed away. This results in Jack's mother moving them to Pandora, where she pawns him off to his grandmother, who is emotionally abusive. This leads Jack to focus solely on his passion for programming, setting him on a path that would eventually lead him to join the mighty Hyperion Corporation. It is likely around the same time that Jack meets a mysterious woman of whom, to this day, her appearance or name is unknown. It is known that she eventually marries Jack, and together they have a daughter named Angel. Despite Jack exhibiting behaviors of narcissism, sociopathy, and megalomania, it does not stop him from being a loving husband and father, even after his life changes forever when Angel inherits the powers and markings of a siren. More specifically, she gains the phase shift ability, which allows her to freely access and manipulate technology, enabling her to, in a way, communicate with all sorts of technology. At first, Jack sees this as the simple manifestation of a child's imagination, but when he sees her tattoos, he quickly becomes worried. Attempting to remain rational, Jack contacts numerous medical professionals to examine Angel's tattoos as well as her new, strange behavior toward technology. However, sirens and their abilities are still relatively unknown, so no immediate conclusions can be reached. Seeing as Jack, as well as others, are not exactly sure what they are dealing with, word quickly gets out that there is a young woman with strange abilities and markings on Pandora. Soon enough, a bandit who knows how rare sirens are comes after Angel. Once he gets his hands on her, he attempts to kidnap her. However, Angel, in an act of fearful desperation, activates one of the bandit's turrets, killing him as well as her mother. With his wife gone, Jack's worst qualities begin to surface. He swears vengeance on every last bandit, seeing them as irredeemable monsters, the scum of Pandora. If he were a different man, maybe he would find some way to move on, but Jack is no man, he is a hero. He will rid Pandora of bandits so no person will have to go through what he did. But accomplishing this task is no easy feat. He will have to go to great lengths to find some way to cleanse the world. The first and greatest method will be with the use of Angel. As time goes by, Jack rises within the ranks of Hyperion while simultaneously learning the strengths and limits of Angel's phase shift abilities. With his mid-level programmer status, Jack is able to confine Angel to the room that houses the Hyperion network. This gives her access to nearly everything Hyperion has access to, which provides Jack with an immense amount of knowledge and information, some of which he uses as leverage to rise within Hyperion, but most is put toward his grandiose plan to cleanse Pandora. To accomplish this, he convinces Hyperion's board of directors that they should begin designing a space station in orbit of Pandora, as he has a feeling something is there. After finding the vault, Typhon is hired once more by Atlas to find additional vaults on Promethea. After what is likely months of searching, Typhon is unable to find another vault. Atlas suspects Typhon is holding out on them, but instead of persecuting him, they very strategically attempt to use his good-hearted, adventurous nature for their own benefit by offering to let him lead a peace envoy around the galaxy to uphold Atlas's image. Typhon agrees, and for a while his envoy travels to various planets across the galaxy, planets like Athena's. There he meets with a few of the sirens, one of whom, a woman named Queen Dido, he dates while on Athena's. This lasts until she dies, and a new faction of monks known as the Order of the Impending Storm takes over. Not long after, an infant siren by the name of Maya is delivered to the Order. Soon after the Order's rise on Athena's, Typhon moves back to Promethea, where he learns the truth of this so-called peace envoy that he had led. It was not about peace at all, it was a ruse. His team consisted of a handful of Atlas spies who were tasked with following Typhon to steal any artifacts of value that he might stumble across. Atlas also used this envoy as a way to distract Typhon, as while off Promethea, he had no clue what Atlas had been doing with his vault. But after his return, the truth surfaces. Atlas was not doing what they told him they would do with the vault, which was to improve life on Promethea. Instead, they used it to seize power and oppress others. While Typhon is furious, he is also contractually obligated to follow Atlas's orders, which lately had been to stay put. Not much time passes before Typhon decides enough is enough. He is growing restless, and Promethea, even after Atlas's rise, is growing worse by the day. Typhon breaks his contract and travels off-world, roaming the galaxy in search of another adventure. Maybe this will lead him to discover another vault, or maybe he will find nothing at all. Who knows? After all, he stumbled into finding the vault by accident, so maybe he will just roam around for a while and see what else he might stumble across. After some time, Typhon is hired once more, this time by none other than Montgomery Jacobs. Montgomery's plan is to let Typhon explore Eden 6 for a while, eventually concluding that there is indeed no vault on the planet. Typhon spends a long time on Eden 6 in search of the vault, long enough that he starts to believe he has lost his touch, that his days of vault hunting might be behind him. In fact, he is just about to call it quits until he notices Montgomery seems a bit too eager to accept Typhon's failure. That is when he gets up and starts going to the last spot he has yet to check, right under Montgomery's nose. Montgomery follows Typhon, asking him where he is going. Typhon says that he knows where he is going and continues forward until he hears the click of a revolver. Montgomery then says that Jacobs may have escaped the last war, but that the next one is coming, the War of the Vaults. With a gun to his back, Typhon is quick to agree that there is indeed no vault on Eden 6. Montgomery then smiles, hands Typhon his golden revolver, and says it was nice doing business with him. With his vault hunting itch scratched, Typhon decides he will travel back to Pandora to see how it has changed, for old time's sake. But upon reaching Pandora, he notes that he has begun to feel the effects of his midlife crisis. He begins to realize that he has gone on all these adventures, but to him, they are ultimately meaningless if he has nobody to share them with. Typhon then continues to wander Pandora for a long time, attempting to find fulfillment in other ways. On one such trip from Elpis, Typhon's ship is suddenly shot down by none other than Aslan de Mesa. They had met a few times since Aslan abandoned him way back when, but he has a feeling that this will be the final time. His ship then crashes on Pandora, leaving him both stranded and wounded. He continues to run from Aslan and his crew for days on end, only catching the occasional break. This continues until one day he decides that he will face Aslan, regardless of the outcome. When Aslan catches up to him, Typhon uses his knowledge from his past to his advantage, luring a pack of skags to Aslan's location. The skags make quick work of Aslan, and Typhon continues his meaningless wandering until he decides to go back to his family farm to rediscover his roots as a simple turd farmer. Some time passes before Typhon finds himself in a tavern in Firestone, where a woman by the name of Leda Calypso confronts him. She begins their encounter by asking for his help to find the legendary Eridian homeworld known as Necrotafio. Typhon, of course, accepts this offer, and together they begin searching Pandora in hopes of finding some clues to Necrotafio's location. Along the way, they begin to fall in love, as well as save enough money to buy a ship and plenty of supplies, so they can live out their dream of exploring the galaxy for the elusive planet of Necrotafio. And wouldn't you know it, after months or possibly years of searching, they eventually stumble upon the very thing they are looking for. After crash landing on Necrotafio, Typhon notes that he has a weird feeling, the same feeling that he gets when he is on a planet with a vault. Like he is not really searching for something, but instead following some sort of gut feeling or call to his very soul. He questions if this feeling is in some way connected to the vaults, or maybe the planets themselves are connected. Regardless, he and Lita follow that feeling into the heart of Necrotafio, where they find a great machine as well as a lone vault. They open this vault and fight a powerful monster named the Seer. Afterwards, they travel inside the vault, where they conceive a pair of twins. They then have a conversation about the importance of what they have stumbled across, a world of countless questions and likely many answers to them. They both come to agree that something of this importance cannot be left for someone else to stumble across, so they decide to stay here for the rest of their lives to defend it, all the while finding answers to their biggest questions. 9 months later, Lita gives birth to a pair of conjoined fraternal twins, but to their surprise, that is nowhere near the most special thing about them. They have not only given birth to 2 sirens, but one of them is a male. Shortly after their birth, Typhon and Lita name their children Tyrene and Troy de Leon. Typhon then cuts the twins apart so they can live separate lives. This, however, unknowingly starts a timer on Troy's life, as siren biology dictates that only women can possess siren powers. Luckily, Tyrene has inherited possibly the only siren ability capable of keeping Troy alive, Nereid's very own phase leech. This allows Tyrene to periodically transfer a bit of power to Troy, therefore keeping him alive. However, just as Nereid was afraid of, it also causes a great deal of tragedy when, as a young child, Tyrene accidentally kills her own mother. This single event sets the stage for what Tyrene and Troy will eventually become, as the death of Lita puts a substantial distance between Typhon and the twins. He continues to do the one thing he has always done: tell stories. And what better story is there than the story of the Eridians and their great vault? With Angel being connected to the Hyperion network for over a year, Jack is able to learn quite a bit about 2 major things: the sirens and the false vault. He takes interest in the former for obvious reasons. However, it is the latter that he puts to use towards his heroic plan. Knowing the 200-year deadline is soon approaching, Jack, with the assistance of Angel, lures aspiring vault hunters to collect the vault key and open the false vault. This is no easy task, as he has to find the correct vault hunters, ones who are capable enough to complete the task yet oblivious enough to ignore the true prize within the vault. Soon enough, he finds the perfect fit: a group of 4 outcasts riding on a bus to the bandit-ridden town of Firestone. Roland, Lilith, Mordecai, and Brick. These are the names of the legendary vault hunters who opened the first vault on Pandora. Roland, being a former Crimson Lance soldier, acts as the leader of the group, providing direction and wisdom. Lilith, a siren, becomes the group's primary powerhouse. When she is not strategically avoiding conflict, she often ends it quickly. Mordecai and his loyal companion Bloodwing act as the group's scouts, always far from conflict but never avoiding it. And Brick is Brick, and he is the prettiest. Long before this group becomes known as the legendary explorers they are known to be, they are simply kids who had grown up hearing stories of the vault, a great treasure that would bring them all the fame and money they could ever desire. Hearing these stories, they naturally decide to search for the vault in adulthood. As the false vault calls out to nearby souls, one by one, they accept a bus ride from a man named Marcus Kincaid. As Marcus's bus approaches the town of Firestone, Jack instructs Angel to contact the vault hunters, telling them that they have no reason to trust her, but that if they do, she can assuredly get them to the vault. He then has her tell them to follow the guidance of a claptrap unit, which will provide them with what they need until she contacts them again. Once outside, Claptrap provides the vault hunters with their standard issue Doll Echo communications device, which provides them with valuable information about both their well-being and weaponry. Claptrap then guides them to the town of Firestone, where they are met with a group of bandits who have overrun the town. The group makes quick work of the bandits, after which they meet with Dr. Zed, a local surgeon who tasks them with cleaning up the town as well as meeting with the locals. After helping the locals of Firestone, the Vault Hunters are contacted by Scooter, a mechanic who maintains the local catch-a-ride stations. He sets them on a quest to reactivate the catch-a-ride stations, which gives them access to vehicles. Once accomplished, Angel contacts them once more, informing them that their next target is a dangerous bandit named Sledge, who resides in the nearby mine. After unlocking the mine, they fight their way through dozens of bandits before coming face to face with Sledge. After a tough battle, Sledge is defeated, and Angel is there to inform the Vault Hunters that what he had stashed away was proof that the legends were true, a fragment of the key that opens the vault. When exiting the mines, the Vault Hunters are contacted by none other than Commandant Steele. She states that the Eridian artifact they have stolen is the sole property of Atlas, and that they should return it immediately. The Vault Hunters ignore this vague threat and carry out their new plan to travel to the nearby town of New Haven. Once arrived at New Haven, the Vault Hunters are contacted by both Helena Pierce and Patricia Tannies. Pierce is the administrator of New Haven, and as is her responsibility, she decides that her focus is on the people, not the vault, which she believes is nothing but a fairy tale. Tannies, on the other hand, knows the vault to be real and is eager to help them find it. She then invites the Vault Hunters to meet with her so she can inspect the artifact they have found. After meeting with her, she correctly identifies it as a piece of the vault key and instructs them to leave it with her so she can run tests on it. Meanwhile, she says they can go collect another piece of the key, one that she left with a man named Crazy Earl. After doing a few miscellaneous tasks for Crazy Earl, he informs them that he sold the key fragment about a year ago to a bandit leader named Crom. The Vault Hunters then travel to Crom's bandit camp and kill him, collecting the second fragment of the key. With the second key fragment collected, the Vault Hunters immediately take it back to Tannies. She informs them that the third piece is likely somewhere on the Trash Coast. However, it is guarded by the residents of Janistown, led by a man named Janies Cobb. Taylor Cobb, his brother, notes that by killing him, they would be doing everyone a service and could easily get to the Trash Coast. After killing Janies, the Vault Hunters are sent back to New Haven at the request of Taylor to collect their reward. However, this is a trap, and as Helena Pierce soon notes, Taylor was the wrong person to trust, as he is much more dangerous than his brother. The Vault Hunters are then made to clean up their own mess by killing Taylor Cobb. Along the way, Marcus notes multiple times that Tannies is somehow getting supplies from a third party, implying that she has been working for, or at least is in contact with someone else. After Taylor Cobb is killed, Angel informs them that the third fragment is indeed in the Trash Coast, though a challenge awaits their arrival. When the Vault Hunters finally make it to their destination, they are met with a massive rack hive. After defeating it, they collect the third key fragment. Once the third fragment is given to Tannies, she informs the group that the final fragment is in the hands of a man named Baron Flint, who resides in the Salt Flats. However, to get to him, they must first repair a claptrap unit in the town of Old Haven. There they encounter the Crimson Lance, who, unknown to the Vault Hunters, are likely there to guard the Gordy's project. With the claptrap unit repaired, it can now open the door to the Salt Flats. There, the Vault Hunters encounter bandit patrols, which they take down before their final encounter with Baron Flint. After taking Baron down, they attempt to attain the fourth and final piece of the key. However, to their surprise, it is revealed by Commandant Steele that there is no fourth piece and that Tannies gave the key to Atlas. After revealing she has the vault key, Commandant Steele gives the Vault Hunters one final offer: leave Pandora, and Atlas will let them live in peace. She then warns that any further disobedience will result in the citizens of this planet paying dearly. To prove this, she begins by shutting off the Echo network and threatens to cut off all commerce if defiance continues. Without the EchoNet, Angel is unable to see the Vault Hunters clearly, but can still contact them directly using her siren abilities. She warns them that they have to open the vault, as they and secretly Jack cannot wait around for another 200 years. Without knowing where the vault is located, the vault hunters attempt to find Tannis inside an Atlas compound. After doing so, they learn that Tannis did not betray them out of malice. Instead, she says that she had no other choice and that in her own twisted way, she thought the vault hunters would like it. This seems to be truthful, as Roland, as well as the others, forgive her because they likely see that she in fact did not do it for purely selfish reasons. After helping Tannis escape her cell, the vault hunters attempt to bring the Echo network back online. At the same time, Commandant Steele travels to the vault, which triggers an army of Eridian guardians to take down any opposing force in defense of the vault. After bringing the Echo network back online, Tannis informs them of the vault's location and that Steele is likely close to opening it. The vault hunters waste no time traveling to the vault, along the way encountering both Crimson Lance and Eridian guardians. After making it to the top of the Eridian ruins, they finally come face to face with Commandant Steele. She tells them that she has repeatedly warned them to stay out of her way, but that now the vault is the property of the Atlas Corporation, and they belong to her. She then uses her siren powers to mend the fragmented key, inserting it into the vault's lock. The vault begins to open, and as the Eridians had planned, the destroyer is hungry for a feast. During her final show of power, Commandant Steele and her elite Crimson Lance are instantly killed by the destroyer. As the vault hunters begin to fight it, Angel notes that this form of the destroyer is still powerful, though compared to its true self, it is extremely limited, even killable to a certain extent. As the fight nears its end, the vault hunters are able to come out on top, killing the monster, or at least this tiny portion of it. Angel is quick to congratulate the vault hunters on their victory, noting that they should enjoy their spoils as well as sell the vault key back to Tannis. After all, with the vault open and the destroyer killed, it is of no use to anyone anymore. While opening the vault may not have provided the vault hunters with riches beyond imagination, it did make them relatively well known, at least on Pandora. This warrants a local entrepreneur by the name of Mad Moxie to invite the vault hunters to participate in her Underdome Coliseum. There, the vault hunters compete for the grand prize of marrying Moxie herself. While they are victorious, this never comes to fruition. However, the vault hunters learn that the true prize is not marrying Moxie, but instead gaining her respect, which, quite honestly, is a lot more difficult. While the vault hunters are enjoying their newfound popularity, Atlas is finally beginning to crumble under the weight of their failures. Things that were once considered to be relatively minor problems have now compounded into issues they can no longer control. Problems such as the military being run by a literal child due to the culture of nepotism within the company. This, in turn, leads to the disillusionment of people such as General Knox, who had not been truly proud of his work at Atlas for some time. The final straw is the failure of Commandant Steele, who, even with the power of Atlas at her disposal, lost a vault to a bunch of nobodies. This downward trend is absolutely devastating for Atlas, though for its adversaries, it only helps to inspire them further. And there is nobody more adversarial to Atlas than Athena. As with all Crimson assassins, Athena was stolen from her family at a young age and forced to kill them to cut any ties to her past life. This would have worked if it had not been for her sister's survival. As she grew up, she would search for evidence of her sister's whereabouts using the skills she had been taught as an assassin. Despite this, she continues to be a loyal soldier, even reporting her findings to her direct superior, General Knox. With enough time, Athena is able to find and reunite with her sister, though this does not last long, as she confesses to Knox that with her sister found, she wants to leave the Crimson Assassins. General Knox actually finds this to be somewhat inspiring, a story of a soldier who had given it their all and was ready to move on to the next chapter of their life, something that he wants to experience for himself. However, he makes the mistake of revealing this information to Atlas executives, who do not find it to be as heartfelt as Knox would imply. They see it as one of their finest soldiers admitting their treasonous intent, something that they seek to rectify. They then order the Crimson Assassins, including Athena, to massacre the village home to Athena's sister. After the operation is complete, Athena learns the truth, and with that same passion that drove her to find her sister, she devotes her life to killing anyone who proudly associates with Atlas. So when word gets out that Atlas is beginning to crumble, she takes the opportunity to reach out to those who she saw were responsible for it. After answering Athena's call, the Vault Hunters arrive at T-Bone Junction. Athena then directs them to speak with Scooter, who can help them find her. Scooter has them collect some nearby parts in order to construct a new vehicle, which will help them destroy the many literal Atlas roadblocks they are bound to encounter. After constructing the vehicle, the Vault Hunters are sent to Moxie's Red Light, a club that overlooks her Underdome. There they are supposed to meet with Athena. However, when they arrive, Moxie informs them that her ex-husband, Shank, had taken Athena, looking to cash in the bounty that is on her head. After accessing a prison that Shank and his crew had overrun, they kill Shank, which gives them access to a teleporter as well as Athena. The Vault Hunters give Athena the teleporter and reunite with her at T-Bone Junction. There she lays out the plan to drive the final nail in the coffin for Atlas, to destroy General Knox's massive weapons depot. To do this, they must find some way to detonate the powerful bombs already within the depot. However, to do that, they must also find an access code to get inside. While the Vault Hunters find the access code, Athena focuses on finding the detonator. After doing so, she hands the detonator off to the Vault Hunters and sends them to infiltrate the armory. Once inside, they are confronted by General Knox himself. He immediately begins the confrontation by showing off his impressive arsenal of weaponry before stowing it away. It is clear that he knows what is about to happen, and he is not all that surprised. After all, the writing has been on the wall for some time. So even if he did best them, what would he do? Would Atlas even let someone with his capabilities and knowledge live? He assumes not. But much more than that is that this may be his only chance. He will have to end his life in a way that he had always imagined, by giving it his all. No tricks, no advantages, just him versus a capable opponent. After a long fight, the Vault Hunters manage to kill General Knox and infiltrate his armory. There, they enter the codes that they had acquired and grab anything of value before the place is blown sky high. This is the final, devastating blow in a series of critical failures that plagued the Atlas Corporation. It is after this moment that they are reduced to nothing more than a passing memory in the minds of the people. Much like Atlas did to Dahl, Hyperion is quick to push the remaining Atlas forces into hiding as they lay claim to the planet. This is likely the direct result of Jack's manipulation within the company, the same manipulation that gave him an unusual amount of authority and control over a soon-to-be-constructed Hyperion space station named Helios. With this responsibility, Jack, even though he is a mid-level programmer, has positioned himself exactly where he needs to be, as he can now carry out his plan of harvesting the power of the Destroyer. With Hyperion's influence over Pandora just beginning, they hire the esteemed Vault Hunters to take on a new threat that has emerged, a growing rebellion of Claptrap units, led by none other than the Claptrap who had gone rogue after Hyperion's interplanetary ninja assassin Claptrap protocol, which was meant to take out the Vault Hunters, backfired, causing Claptrap to rally all other Claptrap units in a fight against their oppressors. This call for the Vault Hunters' help comes from a man named Mr. Blake, an executive at Hyperion. He tasks the Vault Hunters with traveling around Tartarus Station to restore and repair key systems that Claptrap rebels have overrun. Along the way, fighting people Claptrap has reanimated, such as Commandant Steele and General Knox. In the end, the Vault Hunters confront Claptrap and defeat him, in doing so, restoring his original programming. In the months following the opening of the vault, a massive scar emerges on Pandora's crust, revealing the immense amount of iridium that lies deep below the planet's surface. This immediately catches the attention of Hyperion, who then fortify their already established position on Pandora to begin mining operations. Meanwhile, Jack continues to oversee the construction of Helios, a position which gives him a large amount of flexibility. At first, this manifests in minor ways, like the change of color scheme from the classic Hyperion red and black to a brighter yellow and black. But as time passes, he begins to use this unchecked freedom for the development of a few much larger projects. The first of which is the Eye of Helios, a powerful superweapon that uses the Destroyer's Eye, enhanced with eridium, to shoot a beam of energy at any point on Pandora or Elpis' surface. His next project is the Frag Trap, which is Claptrap, who, with the assistance of Angel, Jack outfits with weaponry to do his bidding. Last but not least, Jack starts a doppelganger program that has individuals getting paid a handsome sum of money to take on his likeness. A brief glimpse at the wild extent Jack would go to satiate his ego. A few years after the vault had been opened, Hyperion finds itself spread across every inch of Pandora. Similar to Hyperion, Jack has been experiencing his own growth, as it was during this time that he discovered Elpis possessed a vault of its own, sparking a keen desire to claim it for himself. Meanwhile, on Elpis, Colonel Zarpedon finds herself the commander of a group of Dahl defectors named the Lost Legion. With her knowledge of what is to come, she has been preparing for Hyperion's arrival for some time, and now, with Helios near completion, she is going to use it to destroy Elpis. To help find the vault on Elpis, Jack hires a handful of vault hunters. These include Nisha, a skilled sharpshooter, Wilhelm, Hyperion's greatest enforcer, Orlia Hammerlock, a cold-hearted killer, Fragtrap, Jack's very own abomination, Timothy Lawrence, Jack's doppelganger, and Athena, who, after hunting Atlas non-stop, cannot turn down the opportunity to hunt down a vault and get paid for it. One by one, the vault hunters make their way onto a rocket on Pandora that Jack has arranged to transport them. But as the rocket approaches Helios, they are ambushed by the Lost Legion, who have finally begun their invasion of Helios. The rocket then crashes, leaving the vault hunters stranded on Helios with no clear escape. After waking up, the vault hunters are greeted by a claptrap unit that hands them their standard issue echo device before escorting them to Jack. There they find Jack pinned down by the Lost Legion, whom they promptly kill. After helping him to his feet, Jack attempts to activate Helios's defenses, which ultimately fails due to a jamming signal on Elpis. This prompts Jack and the vault hunters to escape Helios altogether. They first attempt to leave via the escape pods, but are halted by Zarpedon and the Watcher. They then travel to Helios's moonshot cannon, where Jack opts to stay aboard Helios while the vault hunters are shot down near Concordia, Elpis' biggest city. Upon impact, a local mechanic named Janie Springs helps the vault hunters get equipped for Elpis' environment by assisting them in making an Oz kit. Afterwards, they take down a scav named Deadlift, then travel to Concordia. There they are instructed by Jack to talk to the Marif, the mayor-sheriff of the town, so he can help them disable the signal jammer. However, the Marif disables his elevator. Jack gets frustrated, then directs the vault hunters to go to the Up and Over bar, yet another of Moxie's many establishments. There they meet with Roland and Lilith, who decline to help, though it would not be long until they have no choice but to interfere, as they can see straight through Jack's heroic facade. Soon enough, Moxie ends up assisting the vault hunters by helping them obtain and set up transmitters that can triangulate the jamming signal. After placing down a few of them, the vault hunters are able to pinpoint that the signal is coming from an old doll facility at Crisis Scar. Immediately after leaving the city, the vault hunters see the Eye of Helios in action as its powerful laser is aimed at the heart of Elpis. Jack notes that the moon cannot take much more of that, so they need to hurry up and destroy the jamming signal. After doing so, Helios's systems come online, and the Marif unknowingly reveals his association with the Lost Legion. Jack, now possessing the ability to fast travel, asks the vault hunters to meet him in Concordia so they can have a little chat with the Marif. In Concordia, Jack, with the help of the Customs Claptrap unit, gets access to the mayor's office by revealing his unsavory relations with another robot. Once inside, the vault hunters, Jack, and the Customs Claptrap fight the Marif's guard of scavs before finally confronting him. The Marif, of course, begs for his life, noting that Zarpedon made him do it. Jack is begrudgingly willing to let him go, but after the Marif opens fire, Jack does not hesitate to shoot back. With the Marif out of the way, Jack notes that to take back Helios, they will need an army, and what better army than one that is absolutely disposable and follows his every order. But to create an army of robots, they will need a few things. First is a top-of-the-line military AI, which the Vault Hunters learn is located in a crashed doll warship called the Drakensberg. A few detours later, the Vault Hunters are able to access the Drakensberg and kill the bosun, thanks to the assistance of someone named Skipper, who they learn is the high-grade military AI they have been searching for, and that their real name is Felicity. Lilith and Roland, who at this point are helping Jack to gain his trust, then inform the Vault Hunters of a doll production facility that they can use to produce the army Jack needs. The Vault Hunters infiltrate the facility, where they find a Hyperion engineer named Gladstone. He says he has been working on a top-of-the-line constructor bot capable of destructing loader bots at an unprecedented scale. However, he stopped its production once the facility was overrun. But since Jack and the Vault Hunters need to save the moon, he decides that there is no better time to finish it. Once all the parts are installed, the final step becomes installing the AI. Felicity is hesitant to do so, seeing as they will be forever stripped of their agency, but with no other options and the moon on the line, they are installed into the constructor bot. Felicity's hesitation leads the constructor bot to run rampant, but after stripping it of its offensive capabilities, Felicity has no choice but to comply. With an endless army of loader bots at their side, Jack and the Vault Hunters, including Lilith and Roland, begin their assault on Helios. Their plan is to retake the Eye as fast as possible. However, the fast travel splits them up, causing a bit of a delay. After helping Jack to his office, the Vault Hunters overhear Gladstone inform Jack that his colleagues are in danger. Rather than letting them die, Jack decides to send the Vault Hunters to save them. It is at that time that the CEO of Hyperion, Mr. Tacitor, who had been observing Jack this whole time, attempts to ratify Jack's termination from the company. However, the board soon comes to learn of Jack's accomplishments and ambition, so instead of firing him, they endorse his behavior and begin to turn on Mr. Tacitor. Once the Vault Hunters rescue the scientists, Gladstone notifies Jack that it is possible one of his scientist colleagues was working with the Lost Legion. Jack, taking no chances and letting his paranoia get the best of him, launches the scientists, including Gladstone, out of the airlock. This cements Jack's lunacy in the minds of Roland, Lilith, and Moxie, who continue to work with him only to sabotage his plans. With the Lost Legion's defenses down, Jack, Moxie, Lilith, Roland, and the Vault Hunters make their way to the Eye of Helios. Along the way, they encounter Zarpedon for the final time. After her defeat, she tells Jack that he may have won this time, but that his fall is destined to happen. With her final breaths, she begs Jack to forget about the vault, that if he sees what is inside, it will begin a chain of events that ends in the death of more than just Elpis or Pandora. But Jack, transfixed on what lies inside the vault, pays no attention to this warning. He shoots Zarpedon without hesitation, and moves on to retake the Eye of Helios with the help of the Vault Hunters. At the Eye of Helios, the Vault Hunters learn the true origins of its power, that it comes from the eye of the destroyer, though it is enhanced using something called slag, a byproduct of the iridium refinement process. To stop Elpis' destruction, Moxie leads the Vault Hunters through the process of shutting down the eye. However, as she, Roland, and Lilith have carefully planned, the reboot sequence ends in the creation of a singularity that swallows the eye of the destroyer. With its destruction comes an unraveling of Jack's psyche, an unrelenting rage that he has not felt since the death of his wife. Years of planning and preparation went into the creation of the Eye of Helios, and now, with it gone, he has to see what is inside the vault. With that, a race to the vault ensues, with Jack using cloaking technology to follow the Vault Hunters through the vault's massive underground structure. In the end, the Vault Hunters enter the heart of Elpis and confront the Sentinel, who guards the Vault of Riches. A lengthy battle ensues, with the Sentinel using everything in its power to stop the Vault Hunters from obtaining its treasure. But eventually, the Sentinel is bested, and the treasure it guards is revealed. A simple glyph that, when interacted with by Jack, reveals the future. However, this future is cut short when the Watcher sends Lilith inside the vault to stop Jack from learning too much. Lilith uses her power to destroy the glyph, which forever brands Jack's face with the mark of the vault. In a burning rage, Jack declares nothing short of the total annihilation of bandits on Pandora. When Jack returns to Helios, he does so with a new look and a renewed determination. He walks into his office, where he finds Mr. Tacitor at his desk. Without hesitation, he strangles Tacitor to death, declaring himself Handsome Jack, CEO of Hyperion. Soon after his takeover of Hyperion, Handsome Jack uses his newfound status to do some research into Hyperion systems. While doing so, he learns that the claptrap unit he and Angel had modified was in possession of a device called the H-Source, a massive collection of Hyperion secrets and security information that he would very much like to have access to as CEO. To accomplish this, he sends the Vault Hunters into a simulation of claptraps mined by digitizing them. Inside the simulation, they obtain the admin password and head to the system admin. There, the admin password is revoked due to some safeguards put in place by Tacitor. This leads the Vault Hunters to search for the H-Source manually by going into a simulation of Pandora inside Claptrap's memories. Eventually, the Vault Hunters find the H-Source inside of a recreation of the Destroyer's vault after it had been pillaged by Jack. They attempt to download the information. However, Tacitor's safeguards once again activate, transporting the H-Source to a section of Claptrap's code called Quarantine. However, they are once again blocked, this time by a darker version of Claptrap called Shadow Trap. Shadow Trap informs them that if they want access to Quarantine, they will need something called the Override Key, which would give them free access to everything inside Claptrap's systems. This Override Key is once again hidden deep inside Claptrap's memories, though unlike the last, these are false memories, history that has been masked in layers of denial. As the Vault Hunters unravel the truth buried within Claptrap's psyche, they eventually confront his denial and obtain the Override Key. After taking it back to Quarantine, Shadow Trap uses the Override Key to free himself and escape to Claptrap's subconscious with the H-Source. As the Vault Hunters chase him, they discover that Shadow Trap's intentions are to merge with Claptrap and the H-Source to take revenge on those who have caused them harm. As they confront Shadow Trap in the deepest parts of Claptrap's code, the Vault Hunters are finally able to obtain the H-Source. But upon returning it to Handsome Jack, Shadow Trap reveals that they are still inside the simulation, and instead of handing it to Handsome Jack, they have handed it right back to him. Shadow Trap then attempts to merge with Claptrap, but Claptrap refuses, making Shadow Trap resort to using the H-Source himself to destroy the Vault Hunters. After a lengthy fight, the Vault Hunters come out on top and return the H-Source to Handsome Jack, for real this time. With the H-Source, Handsome Jack's first act is something that he had been dreaming about for years: to destroy every last Claptrap unit. He activates a kill code that instantaneously destroys every Claptrap unit connected to the Hyperion network, of course, except for the Claptrap, whom Handsome Jack elects to execute himself. Following the purge of the Claptrap units, Jack has most disposed of in landfills across both Pandora and Elpis. One such landfill is the Windshear Waste on Pandora. There, a huge mass of Claptrap units are left to decay in the harsh environment. Though one such unit, that being Claptrap himself, survives thanks to the efforts of Sir Alistair Hammerlock. After obtaining the H-Source, Handsome Jack uses his unprecedented power to quite literally change the face of Hyperion. To be exact, he changes it to resemble his face, as his identity quickly becomes synonymous with Hyperion as a whole. While some of the Vault Hunters, like Nisha and Wilhelm, thrive in this environment, others, like Athena, come to realize that living under the shadow of Handsome Jack means your life is in service to him. She has already seen how this kind of leadership turned out for Atlas, and she is not too keen on reliving it. Over the next few years, Hyperion focuses much of its efforts on pursuing anything handsome Jack deems to be important. It is no surprise that this means some of these endeavors are simply there to once again fuel his ego. Endeavors such as, but not limited to, Opportunity, a handsome Jack-centric, unsurprisingly dystopian utopian city on Pandora. The Handsome Jackpot, a space casino overlooking a black hole, an idea that he had stolen from Moxie when they had dated. This is also where Timothy is sent, as Jack felt it was good branding to have the employees of the casino resemble himself. And finally, the last of these projects is Handsome Jack's purchase of the once powerful Atlas Corporation. Alongside these vanity projects, Hyperion begins to pour resources toward Jack's main venture, the awakening of the warrior. To accomplish this, he steals the vault key from Tannis and begins a mass extraction of iridium from Pandora. This gives Hyperion incredible leverage over other companies, as they alone control the market of iridium, making them wildly profitable. But aside from profit, the iridium mining has a secondary goal, one that is much more sinister. Knowing sirens possess enhanced abilities when interacting with iridium, Jack seeks to administer a constant supply of it to Angel's body, further enhancing her abilities as well as expediting the vault key's charging process. This is initially tested aboard a prototype within Helios, but Jack's paranoia eventually leads him to construct a much more secure facility on Pandora known simply as Control Core Angel. To guard this facility, he has Hyperion engineers design a state-of-the-art automated sentry ship named BNK-3R, also known as the Bunker. The iridium infusion process has also led to vast amounts of iridium runoff, which has been named slag, lying around in barrels to be disposed of. Handsome Jack decides to put this slag to use by constructing the Wildlife Exploitation Preserve, a facility that tests the effects of iridium and slag on a wide array of living subjects. As Angel is charging the vault key, Handsome Jack begins to go on the offensive to keep bandits and vault hunters alike from ruining his plans. This begins with the mass production of constructor bots, which in turn leads to an outpour of loader bots on Pandora. This keeps the bandits and vault hunters busy, but Jack knows that it is not going to be enough. Meanwhile, in New Haven, Roland decides that he has had enough of Hyperion. With the help of his fellow vault hunters, he rallies the scattered Crimson Lance forces who had been abandoned since Atlas's purchase. He cannot promise them a guaranteed victory or personal glory, but what he can say is that this time, they are fighting on the right side of history. With that, the Crimson Raiders are formed, those who will fight until the very end against the tyranny of Hyperion. Shortly after the formation of the Crimson Raiders, Handsome Jack orders Nisha and Wilhelm to wipe out the residents of New Haven. This is successful, and those remaining are forced to flee to the doll mining ship known as Sanctuary. Following the fall of New Haven, Jack gifts Nisha the town of Lynchwood, where she becomes the sheriff. Wilhelm is further outfitted with robotic weaponry until he becomes unrecognizable from his past self. Meanwhile, in Sanctuary, Roland and Lilith continue to bolster the Crimson Raiders, recruiting people such as Tannis, Marcus, Dr. Zed, Scooter, Crazy Earl, and Moxie. Brick at this time is removed from the Crimson Raiders, as his savage outbursts are proving to make things difficult for Roland. However, this does not keep Brick from finding his own way to fight against Hyperion, as soon enough, he creates his own bandit camp known as the Slab Gang, crowning himself the Slab King. After exiling Brick, Roland begins a non-stop search for a way to take down Handsome Jack. To assist him, Mordecai spies on Hyperion from afar, while Lilith begins to hunt down bandits under the codename Firehawk. This keeps Roland informed as well as keeps the heat off the Crimson Raiders, who day by day are becoming increasingly desperate. With the Crimson Raiders forced into hiding, Handsome Jack decides that it is not enough to keep vault hunters away from Pandora, because then they might conclude he is hiding something. So instead, he concocts a clever plan to take control of the situation by luring vault hunters to Pandora, where they will then permanently disappear. For this, a series of advertisements are created to promote the idea that Pandora continues to be a thriving playground for vault hunters. This proves to be effective, as over the coming months, vault hunters die left and right at the hands of handsome Jack. That is, until an unlikely group of 6 outcasts survives one of these attacks, instantly garnering them legendary status as the vault hunters who faced Jack and lived. In his many years as a Dahl soldier, Axton often finds himself in troubled waters, as his tendency to seek personal glory frequently comes at the cost of his orders. This eventually reaches a boiling point that has Dahl planning a firing squad to execute Axton for his insubordination. Thankfully, his wife, who is also his commanding officer at the time, warns him of his impending death. Axton then goes AWOL. Afterwards, he travels to the lawless wasteland of Pandora in search of the glory he felt was his destiny. There he becomes a bounty hunter, which does not exactly give him the status he is seeking. However, one day while turning in a bounty, he sees Hyperion's advertisements promising absolute fame to anyone who helped them find the vault. With that, he travels to the invitation meeting spot, a maglev train that he knows will change his life. He just does not quite know how. After being delivered to the order of the impending storm on Athenas, Maya is secluded from the public for years. In this time, the monks teach her how to use her powers, which she optimistically assumes is for her own safety. Though even after the monks reveal her to the public, she has no idea that her entire life she was being trained to become the Order's greatest weapon, not just physically, but also politically, as her reveal was a strategic decision, a way to control the masses by declaring her their savior. This keeps the citizens of Athenas subservient to the Order for years to come. In this time, Maya begins researching her siren heritage, where she learns of a strange connection between sirens, iridium, and the vaults. This, either caused by or in tandem with the calling she feels from Pandora, makes her begin to dream of a life outside Athenas. Soon enough, she gets her opportunity to leave when she is ordered to partake in a public execution. She, of course, refuses, now understanding that her role on Athenas is that of a weapon for the Order. Without hesitation, she leaves Athenas, where she then follows her calling to search for a vault on Pandora. This eventually leads to her acceptance of handsome Jack's vault hunting invitation. However, just before boarding that fateful maglev train, she comes into contact with a psycho by the name of Krieg. Krieg was not always a psycho. In fact, he was once a loving husband and father, despite his work as a mercenary. However, that all changes when he stumbles upon one of Hyperion's many research facilities, where he is abducted, becoming another one of Hyperion's test subjects. The lab director, Dr. Benedict, was developing an experimental drug designed to augment and enhance soldiers. Unfortunately, while the drug did induce the desired fearless aggression, it also triggered a deep psychosis, twisting subjects into violent, gibbering, indiscriminate killers. Krieg, however, somehow resisted the gas's effects, and when Dr. Benedict ordered him to kill off his fellow test subjects, an unrelenting internal struggle split his subconscious in two. From then on, the rational, sane side of Krieg would struggle to control the murderous desire of the psychotic side of his mind. Eventually, Krieg manages to break out of his captivity, kill Dr. Benedict, and escape to the Pandoran wasteland. There, he wanders the planet as a psycho, his sanity taking a back seat, though they can both agree that harming the innocent is out of the question. Sometime later, Krieg stumbles upon the very train station where the other vault hunters are planning to meet, and that is when he lays his eyes upon Maya. At first, Maya assumes Krieg to be hostile and fires at him. As she does, a pack of rats sneaks up behind her. Krieg, after battling his psychotic urges, attacks them to protect her. In that moment, Maya sees something inside Krieg, a fractured soul who will likely struggle to be good for as long as he lives. But it is in that struggle that she sees strength, enough that she places her trust in him by not killing him. As Maya boards the train, Krieg latches onto the back of it, vowing to follow that feeling of love that he has not felt in a long, long time. On the far-off moon known as Eden 5, a young girl by the name of Gage uses her incredible intellect to develop a robot for an upcoming school science fair. Known as Death Trap, or simply DT, it is designed to protect those who cannot protect themselves. As she develops it, She finds it necessary to replace her left arm with a mechanical prosthetic that houses all the Digistruct data necessary for DT's operations. Around that time is when her arch-rival Marcy steals her idea and develops the Crime Buster bots, which are meant to assist law enforcement. Gage is furious, and it is in that fury that Deathtrap accidentally kills Marcy, forcing Gage to abandon Eden 5 by sneaking aboard a shuttle bound for Pandora. At that point, she is not exactly sure what she is going to do, but seeing as she has always been interested in Pandora, she decides that she and DT will try their hand at vault hunting. In the unruly town of Opportunity on Pandora, a gun-loving Pandoran named Salvador often runs rampant, terrorizing local bandit camps. This satisfies his trigger finger, though it also makes the citizens of Opportunity nervous, as his chaotic outbursts often lead to a great deal of collateral damage. To solve this problem, the town sentences Salvador to death by hanging. Luckily, Hyperion cuts his execution short by beginning a raid on the town on the day of his hanging. Salvador is able to kill the Hyperion soldiers, and in doing so learns of the vault, which he knows is a goal that will have no shortage of bandits to kill. Soon enough, he too makes his way to the train where his vault hunting journey begins. Almost nothing is known about the assassin named Zero. His appearance seems to suggest that he is inhuman, though past that, his origins are a complete mystery. Similarly, there is no clear evidence of his life before he stepped foot on Pandora, though the reason behind it is known. To Zero, Pandora is a means of finding a challenge, one of the only things that is known to drive him. After searching Pandora for some time, he eventually learns of the vault, which he finally decides is a challenge worthy of his time. Like the others, he boards a certain maglev train with no idea that in just a few short minutes, all of their lives will forever change. After waking up in the Windshire Waste, the vault hunters are greeted by Claptrap, who joyously notes that they will be his ticket off this barren glacier. He then gives them each an echo device and escorts them to his nearby hideout. On the way, the vault hunters are contacted by Angel, who tells them that they have survived for a reason and that she is there to help them. In his hideout, Claptrap's eye is stolen by a bullymong named Knuckle Dragger. After chasing it down and killing it, they help escort Claptrap to Liarsburg, where Handsome Jack offers a $1 million bounty to anyone who can kill the vault hunters. This gets the attention of Captain Flint, a nearby bandit who has possession of Claptrap's ship. After clearing Liarsburg of bandits, the vault hunters meet with Sir Alistair Hammerlock, who quickly repairs Claptrap's eye. They then make their way to Captain Flint, defeat him, retrieve Claptrap's ship, and travel to Three Horns Divide in search of Sanctuary. When they eventually arrive at Sanctuary's entrance, they are contacted by Roland, who informs them that to get into Sanctuary, they must first find a power core that was supposed to be picked up by a man named Corporal Reis. After finding Corporal Reis and hunting down the attackers that stole his power core, they eventually are granted access into Sanctuary. This leads them to immediately learn that Roland has gone missing, despite his recent transmissions. Angel informs them that they should meet up with the residents of Sanctuary to find out what happened to Roland. The first person they meet is Scooter, who reveals that in the event of his disappearance, Roland ordered Scooter to execute Plan B, which would have him activate Sanctuary's long-dormant flight systems to get the town to safety. The Vault Hunters help Scooter set the system up, however, it proves ineffective. The plan then becomes to find Roland, who seems to have been captured by a mysterious bounty hunter known as the Firehawk, who resides in Frostburn Canyon. After fighting their way through Frostburn Canyon, the Vault Hunters learn that the Firehawk is none other than the famous Vault Hunter, Lilith. After helping her to her feet and giving her a small pick-me-up in the form of an iridium shard, she reveals that Roland was taken by the nearby Bloodshot gang. After a long detour involving finding a new vehicle, they finally make their way inside the Bloodshot stronghold. They then find their way into the heart of the stronghold, which finally puts them face to face with Roland. Unfortunately, this is followed by Roland being abducted yet again, this time by a constructor bot under the directive of Handsome Jack. After fighting their way through an army of loader bots, the Vault Hunters save Roland and bring him to Sanctuary. Roland explains that Jack is not actually after the riches of the vault. He is after a creature that is inside it, a warrior of the Eridians with the capability to destroy everything on Pandora. To keep handsome Jack from opening the vault, Roland has the Vault Hunters meet with a spy of his out in Tundra Express. Once arrived, they signal the spy by lighting a few Varkids on fire, which reveals the spy to be the legendary sharpshooter Mordecai and his trusty partner Bloodwing. Mordecai says that if his intel is correct, a Hyperion train holding a vault key should be passing nearby fairly soon. All they have to do is hijack it. Roland says that this can be done with the help of a friend of his, a girl named Tiny Tina, an expert in anything that goes boom. After gathering some supplies for Tina, the Vault Hunters derail the train. They then explore the train wreck, where they find Wilhelm. Both Angel and Roland reason that Wilhelm's presence must mean the train does indeed hold the vault key. After Wilhelm's defeat, the Vault Hunters notice a distinct lack of a key. What they find is that he was in possession of a power core. Angel is adamant that this power core is very important, while Roland notes that it looks a little strange. Given the last power core the Vault Hunters retrieved was only partially charged, Roland makes the rash decision to use the new power core to keep Sanctuary shielded. With the power core plugged in, Angel is given full access to Sanctuary's systems. Jack immediately orders her to lower Sanctuary's shields, revealing their alliance to the Vault Hunters. With the shields down and Helios's full attention on Sanctuary, the Vault Hunters look to Roland for leadership. He tells them to take the iridium he has stashed over to Lilith, who, powered by the iridium, jumpstarts Sanctuary's flight systems. After being teleported to the ground, the Vault Hunters witness an incredible sight as Sanctuary takes flight for the first time in decades. Once in the air, Lilith phases the entirety of Sanctuary out of Helios's range. From here, the Vault Hunters head to the Highlands where they see Sanctuary reappear. This, however, causes some issues with the ship's fast travel network, which Angel says she can help them solve. At this point, she knows it is not in their interest to trust her, seeing as she just betrayed them. But she claims that she had no choice and that she can make it up to them by helping them take down handsome Jack, like she promised when they first met. She then points them to the iridium extraction plant, where the Vault Hunters find a lunar supply beacon that they set up in the town of Overlook. Angel then transmits a request for a new fast travel station that she can calibrate to Sanctuary. After defending the beacon for a long time, Angel's request for an uncalibrated fast travel station is fulfilled. Once aboard Sanctuary, the Vault Hunters immediately regroup with Roland and Lilith, where they begin to discuss finding the vault key. Angel interjects, saying that she can help them. Both Roland and Lilith are apprehensive, seeing as she lied to them as well, until Angel states that she has the vault key. She then goes on to say that she is housed inside a Hyperion facility at 1,000 Cuts, but that if they want to get to her, they must first clear 3 impassable security hurdles. The first is a deterrence field that will obliterate any non-Hyperion personnel that pass through it. The second is a bunker outfitted with state-of-the-art weaponry meant to withstand almost anything. Last, but not least, is a simple door that can only be opened by handsome Jack. Before leaving, she notes that once they somehow accomplish these goals, they must promise her one thing. They cannot under any circumstances allow Lilith to enter her chambers. Once Angel leaves, Roland sends the Vault Hunters to the Wildlife Exploitation Preserve to both get an upgrade for Claptrap, which should allow them to pass the force field and assist Mordecai. At the preserve, the Vault Hunters meet with Mordecai, who states that the Claptrap software upgrade they are looking for was stored somewhere inside Bloodwing's collar. Unfortunately, Hyperion soldiers stole her when she and Mordecai were doing some recon out in Tundra Express. With Mordecai assisting them, the Vault Hunters infiltrate the preserve to both find Bloodwing and recover the upgrade. After traveling to the observation wing, Jack reveals that he has not only taken Bloodwing, but that he has changed her, experimented on her with iridium until she became something else entirely. With no choice, the Vault Hunters fight and eventually subdue this twisted version of Bloodwing. Once at her breaking point, Mordecai tells the Vault Hunters to retrieve the data from her collar, then get back to Sanctuary, where they might find a way to save her. However, upon removing the microchip, a timed explosive within her collar is triggered, killing Bloodwing for good. Back at Sanctuary, the Vault Hunters deliver the upgrade to Claptrap, allowing him to pass through and disable the first security hurdle. Roland then invites the Vault Hunters into the HQ, where he and Lilith talk, finally, of Bloodwing, before moving on to discuss the second part of their plan. To help pass the supposedly impenetrable bunker, Roland asks the Vault Hunters to deliver a note to a former Crimson Raider known as the Slab King, who resides out in Thousand Cuts. Once in Thousand Cuts, the Vault Hunters fight through the Slab King's army of slabs, taking a quick detour to kill a strange psycho with a desire to be shot in the face. Afterwards, they are told that they cannot meet the Slab King until they survive some sort of initiation. They do so, which the Slab King remarks is awesome, as he reveals himself to be Brick. The Vault Hunters then deliver Roland's note, which is revealed to be an IOU that Brick had given Roland sometime in the past. Brick then says that he can assist them by lending them some of his buzzards, which Roland notes should make the raid on the bunker much easier. Once at Sanctuary, the Vault Hunters find Roland and Brick rekindling their friendship before discussing how to pass the final hurdle. Angel butts in, saying that to get through the final door to control Core Angel, they will need to be Handsome Jack, which means passing a bioscan and speaking a passphrase in his voice. Luckily, they can get their hands on a few body doubles of Jack in his utopian city of Opportunity. At Opportunity, the Vault Hunters hunt down one of Jack's body doubles to acquire his pocket watch, which Jack had programmed to relay his biosignature to all nearby machines. This effectively allows him to be in two places at once, which is useful for a number of diplomatic reasons. The Vault Hunters then travel around Opportunity, gathering audio samples of Jack's voice, which they then use to synthesize a voice modulator, allowing the Vault Hunters to speak exactly like Handsome Jack. Angel then begins to scream out in pain as Jack forces her to cut her connection to the Vault Hunters. Back at Sanctuary, Roland gathers the Crimson Raiders for the final assault for the Vault Key, which everyone assumes to be nearly impossible. Despite this, Roland knows it is their only option, as the fate of the world is at stake if they cannot get to this key. After the meeting, the Vault Hunters meet with Claptrap and travel to Thousand Cuts. There, Claptrap disables the deterrent field using his upgrade, and the Vault Hunters fight their way through an army of Hyperion forces until they reach the bunker. Only Jack reveals that the bunker is not a place. It is a thing, a highly advanced, top-of-the-line combat drone that, as far as Jack is concerned, is unstoppable. With the bunker out of the way, the Vault Hunters travel down to the Control Core security door, where they use the pocket watch to pass the bioscan. They then use their voice modulators to speak Jack's passphrase, which Angel tells them is simply, "I love you." The door opens, and Jack is swift to threaten every person he can think of to keep them from moving forward, but with the world on the line, they press on. As they descend into Angel's chambers, she reveals that Iridium alone is unable to charge the Vault Key. What it really needs is a catalyst, a siren, which Jack had kept hidden from the world for years, but that time is at an end. The Vault Hunters are going to free her and end her suffering. As they enter the Control Core, Angel reveals herself to be Jack's siren daughter and tells the Vault Hunters that if they want to stop Jack's plan, they cannot just take the key. They have to destroy his catalyst. Suddenly, Jack traps Angel once again, forcing her to continue charging the key. Angel tells the Vault Hunters to destroy the Iridium injectors above her cell, but before they can do so, Jack shields them. Roland then joins them to help disable the shields around the injectors, and one by one, he drops the shields so the Vault Hunters can take them out. Upon destroying the final injector, Angel screams out in pain as the Iridium withdrawal instantly puts her in a terminal state. In this state, with her dying words, she calls her deranged father and near lifelong captor an expletive. Immediately following Angel's death, Tannis inherits her siren powers. It is unclear why exactly, or even if Angel chose her, but regardless, Tannis keeps her inheritance a secret for nearly a decade, quietly mastering her abilities that she vows to use for the greater good. With the vault key at their feet and Angel out of the equation, Roland and Lilith begin to talk about the next step of taking handsome Jack down. Just then, Jack teleports behind Roland and puts a single shot in his back. Lilith screams and begins to attack Jack, but not before he throws a control collar on her. He then warns the Vault Hunters that with Angel gone, he has nothing else to lose, but that he will gladly show them just how much they have to lose. He then orders Lilith to kill the Vault Hunters, and with great effort, she manages to teleport the Vault Hunters to Sanctuary. With both Roland and Lilith gone, Mordecai suddenly finds himself as the highest-ranked Crimson Raider. With that, he tells the Vault Hunters that their goal is now to simply find the Vault of the Warrior before Jack can open it. And the only place with that kind of information is the Hyperion Information Stockade in Arid Nexus. After a quick detour to Sawtooth Canyon, the Vault Hunters gain access to Arid Nexus, where Mordecai notes that to enter the stockade, they must first punch a hole in the pipeline. The Vault Hunters do so by overloading the pump stations to build up pressure, then ramming the pipeline with a vehicle. This gives them a clear path through the pipe and into the stockade, where they steal the location of the vault. After returning to Sanctuary, Mordecai tells the Vault Hunters that with the vault's location in hand, there is no time to waste. They must get Claptrap to help infiltrate Heroes Pass, then kill Handsome Jack before he can gain control of the warrior. After recruiting Claptrap, the Vault Hunters travel to Iridium Blight, where they defend him as he opens the door into Heroes Pass. After staving off an entire army of loader bots, Claptrap triumphantly opens the door, only to find stairs blocking him from entering. Alongside Brick and Mordecai, the Vault Hunters fight their way through hundreds of Hyperion forces, eventually gaining access to the heart of the volcano, where the Vault of the Warrior resides. Upon approaching the vault, Lilith is seen unwillingly charging the final bit of energy needed to complete Jack's grand plan: to cleanse Pandora of the bandits who killed his wife and the ones that, as he sees it, also killed his daughter. Jack then begins to attack the Vault Hunters for all the pain that they have caused him, for almost ruining his plan. Why could they not see that he was going to change the world, make it a safer, more civilized place, one where his wife and daughter could have lived long lives, one where he would have been seen as the hero? The Vault Hunters are able to oppose Jack's assault, bringing him to the brink of death. However, as he stands bloody and broken, the key finally finishes charging. Without hesitation, Jack puts up a shield, allowing him to insert the key into the vault's lock uninterrupted. The ground beneath them begins to rumble as the warrior awakens from its millennial-long slumber, ready to take action against anyone who Jack deems to be a threat. With this, a lengthy battle ensues between a being meant to destroy civilizations and 6 outcasts who just so happen to find their way onto the same train. With time, the Vault Hunters are triumphant in defeating the warrior and stopping Jack's plan. Though to truly put an end to it, they have to end Jack as well. With the warrior dead and his plan unraveled, the mighty Handsome Jack has been reduced to what he really was. Stripped from his formidable facade is a child who had never gotten his proper needs met, prone to lashing out at those who stopped him from doing exactly what he wanted at any given moment. It is only fitting that that is how he ends, in a matter exactly like how he began. In the exact instance of Jack's death, a dead man's switch activates, sending a signal to the Handsome Jackpot with the order to go into lockdown. This takes immediate effect, causing station-wide chaos. Over the coming years, those trapped within the casino, such as Timothy Lawrence, Pretty Boy, Freddy, and Ember, slowly begin to form their own kind of society, one that is just as cruel and twisted as Handsome Jack himself. In the Vault of the Warrior, Brick and Mordecai finally catch up to Lilith and the Vault Hunters. Lilith first berates them for their absence, but then turns her frustration on the vault's key, saying that if she never saw it again, it would be too soon. Just then, as she begins to concentrate her energy into the key, something inside of it is unlocked. a map of sorts that points them to the other vaults on other worlds. The significance of this discovery does not go unnoticed, though the truth of what it is and why it is there remains a mystery for years to come. Like the vault hunters before them, Axton, Maya, Krieg, Gage, Salvador, and Zero go on to become renowned for their victory against Handsome Jack. But even with the fame and fortune that follow their incredible accomplishment, the vault hunters are not done, as another treasure, just as legendary as the vaults, piques their interest: Captain Blade's lost treasure of the sands. In search of Captain Blade's lost treasure, the vault hunters travel to the forgotten ghost town of Oasis. There, they are contacted by a strange man named Shade, who requests their assistance to fend off some pirates who are demanding his water. After successfully defeating the pirates, the vault hunters are contacted by the desert's sole leader, the pirate queen Captain Scarlet. She says that she would like to work together with the vault hunters to find the treasure, though she does not take fighting it out off the table. They then travel to meet with Captain Scarlet, who informs them that to find the treasure, they must obtain all 4 pieces of a mystical compass, one of which she has. The other, she knows, is in possession of a pirate named Sandman, whom the vault hunters are swift to kill. Alongside his piece of the compass, they find his diary, which points them to a 3rd piece that is being transported by a Hyperion caravan. The vault hunters make quick work of the caravan, then meet back up with Captain Scarlet. She tells them that the next piece is in possession of a man named Herbert, a hermit who is obsessed with her to an unhealthy extent. After helping Herbert, the vault hunters obtain the 3rd compass piece. With the 3 pieces in their possession, the vault hunters meet back up with Scarlet, who then gives them her piece to assemble the compass. With the compass complete, Scarlet sends them to a lighthouse to reveal the location of the treasure using the compass. This reveals the treasure's location to be in the desert of Wormwater. Unsurprisingly, Scarlet uses this opportunity to get a head start on the treasure, which ends in her being swallowed by a massive creature called the Leviathan. Unaware of this, the vault hunters follow suit, where they find themselves face to face with Scarlet and her pet rak hive named Roscoe in the stomach of the Leviathan. After defeating Roscoe, Scarlet teleports away in defeat, leaving the vault hunters to escape the inside of the Leviathan. After doing so, they face the monster head-on, defeating it and claiming the treasure of the sands for themselves, which they find had been an open vault all along. Not long after finding Captain Blade's treasure, the vault hunters are invited to partake in a tournament held by Mr. Torg, the exuberant mascot of the Torg Corporation. This tournament takes place in the so-called Badass Crater of Badasidud, which just so happens to reside on a vault that, as Tanny's notes, can only be opened with the blood of the ultimate coward. With this in mind, the vault hunters accept the invitation, knowing they themselves are far from cowardly. While traveling to the arena, Mr. Torg is quick to note that if they want to open the vault, they first have to rise on the leaderboard. However, to accomplish that, they must obtain a sponsor. They do so by impressing the highest-ranked contestant, a man by the name of Piston, who many accuse of cheating to have earned his position. With a sponsor, the vault hunters are able to fight in the arena. However, before they can prove themselves, Piston begins releasing sleeping gas into the arena, which knocks out the vault hunters. They are then dragged out of the main stage, where both Torg and Piston begin to paint them as a coward for running away. Torg informs the vault hunters that if they want a new sponsor, they must travel to the town of Beatdown to fight Pyro Pete, who has kidnapped the only person who might sponsor them. After defeating Pyro Pete, the vault hunters find their new sponsor is none other than Moxie. With a new sponsor, the vault hunters hunt down the 3rd and 2nd place contestants, which include a woman named Motor Mama and a kid named Flyby. Doing so grants them 2nd place, which allows them to travel back into the arena, where they confront Piston, the ultimate coward. Once killed, the vault below the arena opens, showering the vault hunters in weapons and glory alike. With the death of Handsome Jack, the employees of Hyperion find themselves in a bit of a power struggle, as many of them idealized Handsome Jack for his cutthroat practices and unwavering ambition. But of these ideologues, none held Handsome Jack in as high esteem as Professor Nakayama. Driven by the loss of his idol, Nakayama fills his ship, the HSS Terminus, with iridium and research equipment, vowing to spend all of his efforts to continue Jack's legacy. He does so by developing a state-of-the-art AI replica of Handsome Jack's mind. Alongside this accomplishment, the HSS Terminus crash lands on Pandora, where he then begins experimenting to clone the body of Handsome Jack as well. To this end, he develops monstrosities such as Woundspike and Jackenstein, as well as augments himself with an iridium-powered shoulder cannon. Soon enough, his immoral experiments come to an end when he goes out of his way to contact some nearby hunters. After all their wild adventures, the Vault Hunters find themselves ready for a change of pace, a departure from their usual Vault-centric expeditions. So when Sir Hammerlock invites them on a relaxing hunting trip, they do not hesitate to accept. Upon arriving at Egress, the Vault Hunters meet up with Hammerlock, where they clear out a nearby lodge to begin their hunt. Suddenly, they are contacted by Professor Nakayama, who assumes they are after him. Both Hammerlock and the Vault Hunters ignore Nakayama and carry on their hunting until he contacts them once more, pleading for them to come after him. On their way to do so, the Vault Hunters find that the locals had been worshipping Claptrap, but after he begins to badmouth Jack, they attempt to kill him. After defending Claptrap from the locals, the Vault Hunters move on to a nearby research station, where they begin destroying samples of Jack's DNA to stop Nakayama from cloning him. Afterwards, they shut off the power to Nakayama's experiments, which forces him to unleash Woundspike. After easily killing Woundspike, the Vault Hunters travel back to the lodge, where they then move on to kill Nakayama at the HSS Terminus. Upon entering his ship, Nakayama releases Jackenstein to kill the Vault Hunters. While more difficult than his other experiment, the Vault Hunters are victorious. Finally, Nakayama comes out to confront the Vault Hunters himself, where he then trips down some stairs, which ends up killing him. And while it may have been the end of Nakayama, it was not the end of his influence. Soon after the Vault Hunters had looted his ship, his body, in possession of the Handsome Jack AI, would be taken to be taxidermied and put on display at the World of Curiosities Museum in Prosperity Junction. A year after the fall of Handsome Jack, Lilith finds herself the interim commander of the Crimson Raiders, a position she has not yet fully embraced, though those around her think it suits her well. In this time, she and the Raiders have cleaned up much of the mess Jack had made of Pandora, though they are far from complete. Alongside this, other loose ends present themselves, the most notable of which are reports of an assassin killing almost exclusively ex-Atlas employees. Lilith instantly recognizes this as the work of Athena, who she last saw helping Jack open the vault on Elpis. Unknowing of Athena's true intentions and the entire story of Jack's rise to power, she sends Brick and Mordecai to track her down, where they might then learn the full truth. In this same vein, she also sends Axton and Gage to capture Aurelia Hammerlock, who might have been able to corroborate Athena's story. Meanwhile, Moxie sends Zero to look for another rumor regarding Atlas, a mysterious vault-seeking device known as the Gordy's Project. In the underground town of Hollow Point, Pandora, a pair of crafty sisters named Fiona and Sasha begin gearing up to pull off the most important job of their lives, selling a fake vault key. For this, they require the help of Felix, a genius in the art of swindling and their lifelong mentor. As Felix finishes replicating the vault key, Fiona grows nervous, as the scale and speed of this job are unlike any other that she has been a part of. Felix attempts to ease her nerves before equipping her with a wrist-mounted pistol in case things get rough. Fiona then begins to make her way to a nearby bar where she meets with August, the fence for the operation and her sister's pseudo-boyfriend. As they begin to talk business, August contacts the Hyperion executive he is selling the key to, a man by the name of Vasquez on Helios. The chaos of Handsome Jack's vacancy has yet to subside. Some, like a man named Reese, take this as a challenge, playing by the book to impress their superiors, the idea being that once their boss moves up the chain of command, they themselves will be promoted. However, not everyone shares Reese's perspective. Others, like Vasquez, see Jack's absence as an opportunity to play by their own rules. While on his way to receive his hard-earned promotion, Reese, alongside his friend Vaughn, daydreams about their upcoming life as Hyperion executives. However, this is cut short when Reese sees his old boss has been replaced by his arch-rival. As Reese attempts to question Vasquez about the situation, he notices his old boss's body floating lifeless in space. Reese takes this as the threat it is, while Vasquez suddenly gets a call from August about the sale of the vault key. This piques Reese's interest, and by using his Echo Eye, Reese learns of the key sale, including August's asking price of $10 million. After Vasquez finishes the call, he ends their conversation by promoting Reese to senior vice janitor. Afterwards, Reese meets up with Vaughn in the hall where they run into Yvette, their only other friend at Hyperion. As they walk the halls, Reese proposes the idea of stealing the vault key out from under Vasquez. Vaughn is immediately on board and is able to wire themselves $10 million from Hyperion, which he knows will go unnoticed if they can get the key in time. The last person to agree is Yvette, whom they eventually convince to help them by simply requisitioning any supplies they may need. With $10 million, Reese and Vaughn travel to Prosperity Junction, where they plan to meet August at a museum called the World of Curiosities. On the way, they encounter some bandits who attempt to kill them. However, with the help of a friendly loader bot, they are able to fight their way to the museum. There, they find a number of unique exhibits, one of which displays the body of Professor Nakayama. While examining him, they find an unassuming Hyperion ID chip, which they take to sell to Hyperion. Afterwards, they meet with Shade, who had disguised himself as part of the exhibit. After initial introductions, Shade takes them to meet with August. As they begin to talk, Sasha, who is alongside August, sees Reese's Echo Eye and becomes worried that he may be able to scan the key, revealing its fraudulent nature. She relays this information to Felix and Fiona, who whip up a plan to disable Reese's eye using a short-range EMP. Fiona grabs the EMP and, with the help of Sasha, attaches it to the key case. They then begin to finalize the sale. However, right before Reese scans the eye, Fiona activates the EMP, which also disables his arm. As tensions rise, a bandit named Bossanova suddenly breaks through the wall, causing the case of money to fall directly below him. Zero follows suit, confronting Bossanova for information he seeks about the Gordy's project. Both Sasha and Vaughn then make a run for the money before Bossanova picks it up and leaves with Zero following in pursuit. After the dust settles, Reese and Vaughn attempt to hijack Felix's caravan. However, they are caught. As they are being confronted, August begins shooting at the vehicle, which prompts them to leave as a group. While on the road, Sasha and Fiona threaten to kill Reese and Vaughn unless they can help them get the money. Reese contacts Yvette, who tells him that she cannot help him anymore as Hyperion has begun looking for them. Sasha then begins to shove Reese out of the caravan before he claims he can help find the case himself by using the ID chip he found on Nakayama, which he presumes to have a higher security clearance. Both Sasha and Fiona hesitantly agree, and Reese inserts the ID chip into his head, unknowingly inserting a copy of Handsome Jack's mind into his own. This overwhelms Reese's mind, which causes him to pass out, giving Vaughn enough time to track the case of money himself. Hours later, Reese wakes up to find they have arrived at the case's location, a massive arena built above an old Atlas facility. The group devises a plan to break into the arena, which results in them splitting up. Reese and Sasha go underground, where they meet with Zero, while Fiona and Vaughn find themselves partaking in the arena's death rally. While Reese, Sasha, and Zero battle it out in the center of the arena, Fiona and Vaughn race around the outer ring. The fight in the center sends the case of money to a vehicle near Fiona, which results in a tense chase ending in Felix, who had recently joined the race, miraculously catching the money at the last second. Fiona then climbs into the caravan where Felix, money in hand, betrays Fiona. He then opens up the case, causing it to explode as money rains from above. Zero manages to interrogate and kill Bossanova, where he learns that he had no knowledge of the Gordy's project. After Zero's departure, Loaderbot arrives at their location, which causes the platform Reese is standing on to fall, revealing a secret room below them. Reese and Fiona are quick to find a secret pair of Atlas devices that turn out to be a map when conjoined. As the group ponders the nature of the map, Handsome Jack appears in the mind of Reese, which naturally causes him to panic. In this state, he retreats to the second floor, where he and Jack talk while Fiona and the others find that she and Reese are the only ones who can touch the device. They are then made aware of a computer terminal that can only be opened with a retinal scan of a high-ranking Atlas employee. Luckily, they find one nearby that they are unaware is in suspended animation. Seeing as they think he is dead and are unable to move him, they carve out his eye. After unlocking the computer, they learn the grim reality of their actions as well as the true location of the Gordy's project, which resides in Old Haven. After Reese falls from the second floor, the group notices Hyperion moonshots directed at their location. Loaderbot helps them escape the facility, where they attempt to find safety by driving away in the caravan. As they are driving, the moonshots awaken a rack hive, which begins to chase them. After barely managing to kill the rack hive, Reese and Vaughn become stranded in the desert while Fiona and Sasha barely manage to make their way to Hollow Point. At Hollow Point, Fiona meets with Scooter at a catch-a-ride station to repair her vehicle. Scooter thankfully recognizes the vehicle as the winner of Bossa Nova's death rally and proposes to fix the caravan in exchange for an endorsement. They accept, and while Scooter fixes the caravan, Fiona and Sasha travel back to Felix's old hideout. Upon exploring the hideout, they find a few items, including 2 small boxes Felix had left them. One is marked F for Fiona and the other C for Sasha. Inside Fiona's, she finds an upgrade to her gun which gives it elemental effects. However, Sasha refuses her gift for the time being. They are then interrupted by 2 men named Finch and Kroger. Fiona pulls her gun on Finch, shooting him with her upgraded gun. This creates an opening, allowing Sasha to hit Kroger with a pan. As they make their escape, they are seemingly attacked by Athena, who is presumably attempting to cash in the bounty on them. They barely manage to evade her just long enough to meet back up with Scooter, who is with Janie Springs. When Athena catches up to them, it is revealed that Athena and Janie are a couple, though Athena was supposed to give up bounty and vault hunting a long time ago. After Athena backs off, Fiona and Sasha leave for Old Haven, where they plan to meet with Reese and Vaughn. Meanwhile, Reese and Vaughn traverse the desert of Pandora, where Reese talks to Handsome Jack yet again. However, they are interrupted by the arrival of Vasquez. Gun in hand, Vasquez attempts to get Reese and Vaughn to dig their own graves. However, using his Echo Eye, Reese is able to hack Vasquez's equipment, giving them an opportunity to escape on Loaderbot. They then travel to Old Haven, where Reese uses his Echo Eye to uncover the Gordy's project. When they travel inside, they are soon ambushed by August, who holds them hostage until Fiona and Sasha arrive. As soon as Fiona and Sasha arrive, Vasquez makes it known that he and August are working together. They then force Reese and Fiona to take the 2 halves of the map they have found to activate a terminal inside the facility's central room. They do so, which results in the map being placed into some sort of sphere, which nearly falls off the platform. This triggers the facility's defenses, which they narrowly escape by traveling through a maintenance hatch. Using their supreme stealth skills, they manage to fight their way out of the facility. Outside, they are met by Valerie, August's boss. Valerie immediately begins to question Fiona about who is responsible for previous events. Fiona pins the blame on Vasquez, which prompts Valerie to shoot him. She then holds Fiona at gunpoint, but right before she is shot, Athena comes to the rescue. Valerie is then forced to flee, leaving the Gordy's core with the group. After conversing, they activate the Gordy's core found within the facility, revealing the sphere to be a robot designed to track the vault of the Traveler. However, to do so, she must find a few missing components, the first of which is her energy chassis, located in an old Atlas biodome. Once inside the biodome, they meet a mysterious scientist named Cassius, who keeps Vaughn company while the others search for the energy chassis. After obtaining it, they all meet back up with Cassius, who reveals himself to be an Atlas scientist who, as far as he is aware, is the last Atlas employee remaining. Athena is quick to try to kill him, but not before Brick makes his sudden appearance. Adding to this chaos is Valerie, who fires a rocket at the building, splitting the group in two. While Reese is being held hostage by Valerie, Loaderbot keeps Gordy safe. That is until Vaughn jumps onto Valerie from above, creating an opportunity for both Reese and Gordy's to escape. Fiona at this time is being held hostage by Finch and Kroger, who she manages to take down with the help of Sasha. Loaderbot then arrives to take Sasha and later Reese to help Gordy's. With their combined efforts, they manage to attach the energy chassis to Gordy's. Meanwhile, Fiona attempts to help Athena fight Brick, as well as Mordecai, who had recently joined the fight. After lengthy battles, both groups eventually find themselves outside and out of options. Athena is taken by Brick and Mordecai, who make their way back to Sanctuary, while Gordy's reveals that the second component, the beacon, resides on Helios. While Fiona, Reese, and the others begin to make preparations to find the beacon, Brick and Mordecai drop Athena off at Sanctuary. There, Lilith begins her interrogation by asking Athena why she helped Jack all those years ago. Athena then recounts her side of the story, from the moment she was hired to the moment she left. It is clear that Athena regrets her decision to help Jack, but Lilith cannot forgive her for what she did. After all, if she had not helped him, Roland might still be alive. She orders a squad of Crimson Raiders to execute Athena, but their bullets are stopped mid-air by the Watcher. They warn that war is coming and they will need every Vault Hunter they can get. Back at the caravan, Fiona, Reese, and the others plan to steal the beacon, which Jack tells Reese is in his office. This inspires Reese to come up with a plan involving Scooter building them a rocket and using Vasquez's body as a disguise. While Fiona and Sasha convince Scooter and Janie to help them build a rocket, Reese and Vaughn make their way back to Old Haven, where Reese finds Vasquez's face has been cut off by a psycho. Reese is forced to find it, where he then uploads it to a New You station before their trip to Helios. Once the rocket is complete, the group, including Scooter and excluding Vaughn, travel to Helios. Upon reaching escape velocity, the ship's rocket boosters malfunction, forcing Fiona and Scooter to detach the boosters manually from the ship's hull. Fiona is able to do this without much of a problem. However, Scooter gets his hand stuck. With little to no time left, Scooter decides that their only option is to detach the booster with him still attached. Fiona attempts to think of another way, but with everyone's lives on the line, she is forced to agree. She detaches the booster, and Scooter catches one last ride before the booster explodes. Once back inside, Fiona decides to honor Scooter in the only way she can, by releasing an advertisement in space containing a few choice words. Once they arrive at Helios, Reese quickly disguises himself as Vasquez before heading inside. After confronting Yvette, he makes his way to Vasquez's office, where he hacks into the security cameras to help Fiona and the others steal a tour guide's key card. With the key card in their possession, Fiona and Gordy's travel to Jack's office. However, they are stopped by a group of Jack-obsessed tourists. Fiona is then forced to bluff her way through a tour before reaching Jack's office. Before she can enter, one of the tourists attempts to enter the office, which evaporates him and initiates a lockdown. This forces Reese to come up with a new plan which involves Fiona getting arrested. She does so by destroying one of Jack's possessions, while Reese makes his way to find her. Along the way, he gets into a shootout of sorts, which seems to be common practice with Hyperion executives. He then meets up with Fiona, who assists him in climbing a secret passage to Jack's office. There, he finds the beacon as well as a number of other memorabilia. Meanwhile, Sasha, Fiona, and Gordy's are caught by Yvette, though they are eventually able to escape. Back in the office, Jack attempts to convince Reese to become his successor, to accomplish all the things he could not. Reese, of course, refuses, which prompts Jack to use the little control he has over Reese's body to upload his consciousness to Helios. He then attempts to replace Reese's body with an endoskeleton, though Reese manages to escape with the beacon in hand. To keep Reese and the others from escaping, Jack puts Helios into lockdown, which forces Reese to head for the power core while the others attempt to reach the caravan. While Reese disables the power core, August, Kroger, and Finch betray the others by taking Gordy's, Sasha, the beacon, and the caravan to Pandora. This leaves Fiona, Reese, and Loaderbot stranded on Helios. With the power shut down, Helios begins to fall towards Pandora, causing station-wide panic. Fiona and Loaderbot manage to find an escape pod, but Loaderbot sends Fiona alone so he can save Reese. After doing so, they search for an escape pod, but none appear to be fully functional or big enough for the both of them. Reese refuses to give up, but when they encounter Kroger, Loaderbot decides to sacrifice himself to allow for Reese's escape. After crashing on Pandora, Reese begins to explore the wreckage of Helios until he stumbles upon Jack's office. There, he listens to what he would like to think are Jack's final words, those of regret and disappointment with his past and all those he lost. But just as Reese is beginning to sympathize with him, Jack reveals his true intentions by transferring himself back into Reese's mind. He then begins to strangle Reese, saying that what he is about to do will be worth dying over to see Reese, the man who brought down Helios, dead. But in his final moments, Reese impales his arm on a pole, ripping it from his torso. Jack solemnly congratulates Reese for living another day, but says that he will continue to make his life hell for as long as he is still inside his head. Reese then picks up a piece of glass and begins digging into the side of his head. Jack begins to panic and beg for Reese to stop, a far cry from his common collected demeanor just minutes earlier. Reese continues, pulling the echo eye from his eye, returning Jack to his rightful place in death. Meanwhile, Fiona finds herself in the middle of what looks to be a climactic fight between a behemoth-sized Gordies and a giant vault monster. As she traverses the terrain, she attempts to find Sasha, but instead stumbles upon Valerie and her subordinates. Valerie states that they need to destroy Gordies or the vault monster will kill them all. As she attempts to do so using her rocket launcher, the vault monster kills her. Suddenly, Gordies calls out to Fiona, asking her to carry out this task. Fiona hesitates at first, but is then forced to attempt it. Her first shot misses, as the launcher is far too heavy for her, but with some assistance from Sasha, they grant Gordies her wish. However, unknown to them, Loaderbot was alive, and he takes their actions against Gordies as the ultimate form of betrayal. After the destruction of Gordies, Loaderbot, dazed by confusion, travels back to Helios, where he takes the endoskeleton Jack had made for himself. He then dons a Hyperion containment outfit as well as a mask, traveling Pandora with only one goal in mind. He will find Fiona and Reese and learn the truth. In this time, Fiona presumably continues vault hunting, while Reese takes the rights to Atlas from Jack's trophy case with the intention to rebuild it from the ground up. For this, he refurbishes the old Atlas facility they had found and begins working on some product prototypes, as well as replacements for his arm and eye. Vaughn, inspired by his recent adventures, starts a bandit camp consisting of mostly ex-Hyperion employees that had crashed alongside Helios. Their name fittingly becomes the Children of Helios, and over the next few months they claim the wreckage of Helios as their own. After months of searching, Loaderbot is able to track down and capture both Fiona and Reese. Alongside this, he hires Kroger to kidnap Vaughn. In search of answers, Loaderbot has Reese and Fiona recount their sides of the story, all the while collecting the scattered pieces of Gordies. Near the end of this journey, Kroger fulfills his contract to deliver Vaughn. Afterwards, he tries to kill Fiona, but not before Loaderbot kills him first for what he did on Helios. Vaughn then raises his hands, as unknown to Loaderbot, he has snipers standing by to protect him. The snipers focus on Loaderbot as Vaughn cuts Fiona and Reese free, afterwards revealing his true identity. He then takes Loaderbot as prisoner and leads them into his camp, where Loaderbot reveals his identity as well as his true intentions. After learning the truth about what happened to Gordies, Loaderbot proposes an idea. They will summon the vault of the Traveler once more, this time with a plan. This is the only way to bring Gordies back, to succeed where they had failed long ago. The only thing that is left is to build a team. After assembling their team, the the group concocts a plan that has one team traveling inside the vault monster to destroy its teleportation organ, while the others keep it busy so they can destroy it using Helios. With the plan in place, they reconstruct Gordy's once more. This immediately summons the Vault of the Traveler, which Gordy's notes she is not confident she can fight. To help with this, she has Reese control her movements while Fiona and Sasha travel to the caravan that they plan to use to reach the vault monster. At Reese's signal, Fiona and Sasha launch the caravan into the air. The vault monster then teleports directly to their location, which puts them inside the monster. While Gordy's, with the help of the others, fights the monster, Fiona and Sasha plant explosives in its core. They then use the caravan to escape. However, on their way out, they find the detonator has a much shorter range than they thought. While Fiona begins to think of a way they can turn back, Sasha does not hesitate to risk her own life to save theirs. With the vault monster unable to teleport, they are able to hit it with Helios's beam. This creates a weak point that Gordy's and the others use to defeat it once and for all. With the vault monster defeated, Reese and Fiona search for Sasha, who they find barely alive. Sasha asks Fiona if she still has the gift that Felix left her. Fiona pulls it out, and Sasha says that it was hard not to look, but she thinks she is ready now. Once opened, she finds a watch engraved with a single phrase, "Time heals all wounds." After taking her final breaths, the watch begins to glow and lift her into the air, healing her completely before dropping her onto the floor. With Sasha healed and the vault monster defeated, Reese and Fiona make a mad dash for the vault while the others collect the monster's loot. Once inside the vault, they begin to discuss the future, with Reese saying that he is going to continue rebuilding Atlas, while Fiona says she is going to continue vault hunting. At the apex of the vault, they find a glowing chest, which they opt to open together. As the chest begins to open, a flash of light is seen as both Reese and Fiona disappear into the unknown. With the destruction of Helios, Hyperion's dominance over Pandora is all but gone. This puts Lilith and the others in a unique position where they can now focus on leaving Pandora to pursue other vaults depicted on the vault map. However, this calls into question the necessity of the Crimson Raiders, as their ultimate goal of relative peace on Pandora has now been accomplished. With this, talks of the Crimson Raiders' disbandment become increasingly common. Lilith, as well as the others, know that this is the result of their lack of clear leadership. With no one there to call the shots or provide direction, the Crimson Raiders are destined to end. In the years since the cave-in, Colonel Hector and the 191st Brigade have fallen on hard times. They were promised a paradise that had never been closer to hell in their entire lives. This desperation that Hector felt his men were undeserving of inspired him to change his perspective. If they were not going to be guided to paradise, then they would have to make it themselves, right here on Pandora. To do this, Hector experiments with strange spores they had found underground that vastly accelerate plant growth. The potential for these spores to change the face of Pandora is great, though it would not be fully realized until one day Cassius stumbles upon Hector and his brigade. Hector quickly enlists Cassius, who immediately sees the potential of Hector's plan to release spores into the atmosphere. Over the next few months, Cassius works to perfect the substance that would eventually become known as Paradise Gas. But before he can create a version safe for human contact, Colonel Hector uses the gas to assault the children of Helios, taking their moonshot cannon to disperse the gas further. Soon after, he plans to assault the Crimson Raiders on Sanctuary to obtain the vault key. With it, he can finally create his worldwide paradise. He would call it New Pandora. During their conversation about the lack of direction within the Crimson Raiders, Lilith and the others are attacked by the new Pandoran army. The Vault Hunters are quick to react, but after the introduction of Paradise Gas, the Crimson Raiders are forced to abandon Sanctuary. While Hector takes control of Sanctuary and the Vault Key, the Vault Hunters find themselves with an infection in the ruins of Helios called the Backburner. There they encounter Vaughn, who helps them secure the Backburner before Lilith arrives. She first attempts to retake Sanctuary, but she is unsuccessful. She then contacts Tannis, who concocts a plan to create an antidote for the gas's effects. This plan involves the Vault Hunters collecting some flower samples, which they send to Tannis. While Tannis works on the antidote, the Vault Hunters try to find another way back to Sanctuary now that the fast travel is disabled. Mordecai says he found a way, but before the Vault Hunters can get to him, he is captured. Fortunately, Mordecai's new bird, Talon, leads the Vault Hunters to his location, but before they can save him, Mordecai is infected by the spores. This makes it all the more important for them to find an antidote, which Cassius notes he can help them with, seeing as he created the gas. To open the reinforced door blocking them from Cassius, the Vault Hunters travel to Helios's moonshot cannon. Along the way, they meet with Brick and Tiny Tina. Brick helps them infiltrate Helios, while Tina helps them construct a bomb that they shoot at the reinforced door using the moonshot cannon. After traveling to the backburner to obtain a sample of Mordecai's infected blood, the Vault Hunters make their way inside Mount Scarab, fighting their way to Cassius. But before they can reach him, Hector releases paradise gas into his lab. This forces Cassius to quarantine himself while the Vault Hunters synthesize an antidote using Mordecai's infected blood. However, this fails, forcing the Vault Hunters to kill Cassius at his request to obtain his infected blood. After killing Cassius, the Vault Hunters synthesize an antidote which grants them immunity to the gas. With this, they make their way to Sanctuary, where they confront Colonel Hector, who allows himself to become fully infected by the gas. After a long fight, Colonel Hector is defeated, but as the Vault Hunters reach for the key, his body is reanimated. It then becomes clear to Lilith that while Hector has the vault key, the only thing they can do to save Pandora is to destroy Sanctuary. To do this, the Vault Hunters travel to Crazy Earl's eridium stash and give it to Lilith. With her enhanced powers, Lilith first teleports the remaining Crimson Raiders to safety, then channels her energy into the heart of Sanctuary. While their home may have been destroyed and the vault map long lost, the Crimson Raiders would live on, this time under the clear leadership of Commander Lilith. As the months pass, the mighty Vault Hunters who had slain Handsome Jack begin to search for a life of meaning outside of vault hunting. Axton uses his newfound fame to become a model of sorts before trying his hand at other ventures, such as television broadcasting. Eventually, he and Salvador begin working for a show known as Arms Race, though it will be years until it sees the light of day. Zero decides to venture to Promethea, where he reunites with Reese to help rebuild the Atlas Corporation. The exact reasons behind this are, as is often with Zero, unknown. Gage moves on from life in the public eye, instead preferring to lay low as she is still on the run from the incident on Eden 5. While lying low, she eventually finds a few gigs as an event planner, which helps keep her busy. Maya finds herself wanting to travel back to Athena's, where she quickly finds a role as the planet's protector. While fulfilling this role, a young girl named Ava attempts to steal from the monastery's library. Instead of punishing Ava, Maya decides to recruit her as her apprentice. This allows her to train Ava in a way that she never was, so she can eventually wield her powers for the betterment of the universe. Devastated by Maya's decision to leave, Krieg simply finds himself mindlessly roaming Pandora for months at a time. At some point, he joins Brick, Mordecai, and Tina's newly formed squad called the B-Team. However, this does not last long, and he finds himself once again roaming Pandora. In this time, he attempts much introspection, though it never has concrete results. For that, something major would have to happen. In the 21 years since their birth, Tyrene and Troy de Leon have become full-fledged megalomaniacs. The constant retelling of the Great Vault story, paired with their unique siren abilities, makes them believe it is no cool coincidence they were given their incredible power. To them, finding the Great Vault is their destiny, their birthright granted to them by the universe itself. In other words, they see themselves as gods. But what are gods without people to worship them? This is what drives Tyrene and subsequently Troy to take the first step in their journey to become gods. They first renounce their last name, opting instead to inherit their mother's maiden name, Calypso. They then follow this act by repairing their parents' crashed ship. Finally, they leave the only planet they have ever known, stranding their father there, hoping that he might feel that same sense of imprisonment they had felt their entire lives. Over the next 3 years, Tyrene and Troy Calypso wander the galaxy, garnering little attention. This is deliberate, as they know that to become gods, they must first master their abilities. Alongside this, they learn that the Borderlands are teeming with bandits and psychos. This sparks an idea. If they can somehow harness the abundance of bandits, they could create an army unlike any other in the history of the 6 galaxies. A cult of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of bandits, all willing to give their lives for their cause. All they have to do is learn the culture of the bandits and psychos, their language, beliefs, values, and norms. They have to master them all, and after those 3 long years they are ready. The Calypso twins set course for Pandora, the planet they had grown up hearing stories about, and the planet where they will ascend to godhood. Upon landing on Pandora, the Calypso twins immediately begin integrating themselves into bandit society. At first, this results in a lot of frustration, as the bandits seem to be senseless and unstable. But with much practice, bandits would one by one eventually come to worship them. With that, the children of the Vault are born, and a new age of tyranny on Pandora officially begins. Over the next year or so, the children of the Vault, or COV, only grow in numbers, first into the hundreds as they unite nearby bandit tribes, then into the thousands as they begin to scale their operation using social media. At that point, they begin to garner attention from the Crimson Raiders, though they would not fully understand the gravity of the situation until it is too late. After a while, the children of the Vault have a grasp on Pandora not unlike that of Atlas or Hyperion in years prior. However, this is not enough for the Calypso twins. They may have had an army of millions at their disposal, but they are not all that godly. For that, they need another kind of power like that of the Destroyer in the Great Vault. With this in mind, the Calypso twins begin making preparations to open vaults around the Borderlands to obtain enough power to open the Great Vault. To this end, they ally with people like Katagawa Jr. and Maliwan, who are in the process of attempting a hostile takeover of Atlas. Additionally, they assist Aurelia Hammerlock in killing Montgomery Jacobs, placing her as Jacobs' CEO. With their plans in motion, Tyrene and Troy begin to focus on finding the vault map back on Pandora. This is when Lilith and the Crimson Raiders truly recognize the catastrophic potential of the children of the Vault. As the twin gods begin to scour the planet for the vault map, Lilith begins a search of her very own. From within the Crimson Raiders' new ship, known as Sanctuary 3, Lilith sends out a call for help to any aspiring vault hunters. Amara is born in the slums of the planet Partali, where she learns to master her siren powers at a young age out of necessity. By the time she is a young woman, she has already taken down countless crime syndicates, which has earned her the name the Tiger of Partali. After a while, the planet becomes quite a bit safer, and Amara, seeking a new challenge, begins to look outward to the greater universe. This is when she senses that calling that so many other sirens have felt, the pull toward her sisters as well as Pandora. Once there, she accepts Lilith's call and begins her journey as a vault hunter. Brother to both Captain and Baron Flint, Zane Flint is a high-level mercenary who prefers to use technology to augment his abilities. As per usual, his work as a mercenary garners him an infamous reputation across the 6 galaxies, with his brothers even placing bounties on him before their demise. After a while, Zane decides to semi-retire by traveling to a little-known peaceful planet named Pandora. There, he lives a life of relative ease before hearing of a vault hunting gig. Zane had heard an old assassin acquaintance of his named Zero got into vault hunting about a decade ago, so he decides to give it a shot as well, thinking it cannot be all that hard. FL4K begins their life as a simple digital indexing.